26-year-old Matt Zaluki is suing his former roommate, 28-year-old Nicole Birch, for unpaid rent, utility bills, and damages to their apartment.
Order. All rise.
Yes, case number 161 on the calendar in the matter of Zaluki versus Birch.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Zaluki, the defendant was a roommate in your condo apartment.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she moved out 2 months prior to the termination of the lease. You want your money.
Roger.
And you also were requesting some money for property damage that her dog allegedly did in the house. Miss Birch acknowledges she moved out prior to the termination of her lease.
Correct.
She says several things, however. She says that you moved an army of people into the house during the time she was a tenant in the house. She had every reason to leave. And she is counterclaiming because she says that somebody did something very nasty to her dog. So let's have a few questions to you, Mr. Zaluki. First of all, where was this apartment?
Your Honor, it was North Hollywood.
When did you sign a lease?
It was July 1st of 2009, Your Honor.
And how did you meet the defendant?
Your Honor, I actually have known Nicole for quite some time now.
From where?
We used to work together
where?
TGI Fridays in Kansas.
How long have you known her?
I've known Nicole for almost 6 years now, Your Honor.
Did you come out to California together?
No, we did not.
Who came first?
I came out here first, Your Honor.
And she came out afterwards and moved into your apartment?
Yes, that's correct.
How many people were in the apartment at the time?
Your Honor, be more specific about the situation. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with one of my roommates, Greg. At one point, Nicole came to visit us to kind of, get a feel for how California was to see if she really wanted to move out. At that point, she, acknowledged that she would want to move in with us. So you
took a larger apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. You took a 3-bedroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all 3 of you were on the lease?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your girlfriend move in?
Your Honor, she moved in officially, and she's my wife, actually.
When did she move in?
February of 2010.
When did she start staying there?
She started staying there in November of 2009. On and off when she came to visit from her home country.
From her own what?
Home country, Your Honor. She's from Poland.
So she started staying with you in November of 2009.
That's correct.
Now, did she share a room with you?
Yes, she shared
your room with you?
Yes.
Did she pay any additional rent?
Negative.
The answer is negative.
Okay.
So you had another person living in the house, and you were still splitting the rent 3 ways?
Yes, correct.
Now, who was this other person who was crashing on the couch, Miss Birch?
That would be Matt's friend, Joe.
And why was he crashing on your couch?
Your Honor, back when we were in the 2-bedroom apartment, he lost his job and didn't have a place to stay. So out of kindness of my heart and my other roommate, we decided to give him a place to stay until he got back on his feet and got a new job. At that point, it did transfer over to the 3-bedroom.
What does that mean, it transferred over to the 3-bedroom?
That he was still with us at the point when we went to the 3-bedroom. So when Nicole moved into the 3-bedroom, Your Honor, he was still there.
And you're still splitting the rent 3 ways?
Correct. And the agreement that we had with Joe was that because he had scarce money, he was on unemployment, so he would either help out with food, occasionally he'd help out with occasional money. So if we had utilities or any other bills, I would pay them with Joe's money, and then the remaining amount would get dispersed 3 ways.
So far, you've moved 2 extra people into an apartment where there was supposed to be only 3 people, Mr. Zaluki.
Absolutely. And, Your Honor, and Nicole was fully knowledgeable about Joe at that time, and she had no problems with him. She was actually pretty good friends with him.
Whose friend was he?
He originally was me and Greg, the other roommate's friend.
Right. He came with you.
Yes, correct.
He came according to you as a package. When did you move out, Miss Birch?
March 14th of 2010.
Tell me why.
Well, first, to start off, yes, there were too many people living in the house. At that point, Joe had moved out, but he'd lived there 8.5 months. I was not okay, by the way, with him living there. And when I voiced my opinion, there was nothing that they would do to appease me. And Joe was paying $400 a month. I never saw a dime of that money, and my rent was not reduced because of it. Then on top of that, the big thing was with my dog. I know Tootsie, my dog, Cocker Spaniel, did damage to the carpet, which I paid after I'd moved out. I paid him $250, which covered more than what it cost him to clean the carpet. I paid him extra in case he had to paint my room or something like that. And I also paid all of April so that he'd have enough notice. So I gave him pretty much 45 days notice.
So you moved out March 14th.
Correct.
And you paid March's rent and April's rent.
Correct.
Tell me why you moved out.
Okay, at that point, it was more a matter of it felt like a ship was going down. Our utilities, as far as what I would pay utilities, I would pay the amount he asked me to pay, and the cable would still get shut off, or the gas would get shut off, even though I'd given him the full amount that he asked. None of Joe's money was going towards any of that. Greg was late on rent. Out of the 9.5 months that I lived there, we received 7 3-day notices of eviction.
Why is that, Mr. Zaluki?
Your Honor, ultimately it comes down to our third roommate was always late.
When did Miss Birch tell you that she was leaving?
I'd say the second week of February. Nicole came to me saying that she was unhappy with the living situation.
What was she unhappy with?
She was unhappy about the fact that Greg was always late on rent, and we always kept getting a 3-day notice.
Right.
And she was nervous about that.
So Miss Birch came to you and said, I'm unhappy with you and your friend Greg.
Yes, correct.
And a whole bunch of other things, because by that time your girlfriend is now living with you full time and not paying any rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Joe is at this point just leaving.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he's been there 8.5 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
And all you guys and your girlfriend can't get your rent together on time. Was her rent ever late?
Mine and hers were.
No, hers.
No, Your Honor.
And where's Greg?
Greg, well...
Yep. You're not going to be able, Mr. Zaluki, to think fast enough for me.
Yes.
Where is Greg?
Currently, Your Honor?
Yes.
He is, I'm not sure. He moved out
When?
July 1st.
And are you currently living in the apartment with just your wife?
No, Your Honor.
Who lives there?
No one, Your Honor. I gave up the apartment, fixed everything, cleaned up, and returned it to the
when
landlord.
you moved out of the apartment, how many people were living there?
It was just me, Your Honor, my wife, and Greg.
That's 3 people.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 people to share the rent.
2 people, Your Honor.
No, 3.
Okay.
At your choice.
Yes, Your Honor.
She moved into an apartment, sir, with 3 people.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 people on the lease. 5 people lived there at various times.
Yes, Your Honor.
She doesn't have to tolerate that.
I understand that, Your Honor, but ultimately she knew about that. She agreed to it. When she moved in, she never had a problem with that.
I want to tell you something, sir.
Yes.
She didn't agree to have your girlfriend there. You brought her. I want to ask if you had a powwow and said, I would like my girlfriend to come and live with us. She is not going to pay any rent. And is that okay with you?
Your Honor, I did have that conversation. I sat down with all the roommates and told them, this is what's going on.
Not told them. I didn't ask you whether you told them.
I did ask them what they thought about it. They all liked Dorothy very much. They were actually really good friends. Dorothy asked Nicole if she could be her maid of honor, which she agreed. So there was no problems whatsoever within the household.
Well, there must have been a problem, sir. You told me that she came to you in February and told you she wanted to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You and your friend, the moron who maybe slept on the couch or somebody else, ever give her dog alcohol?
Negative,
Yep.
Your Honor.
And later today,
Listen to me carefully, Miss Cornelius. You lied to me.
I didn't lie to you.
Yes, you did. You lied to me in your complaint.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You may say no. I'm going to have the last word. I'm telling you that you did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matt Zaluki says former roommate Nicole Birch broke their lease. Nicole says she had every right to do so. She is countersuing, claiming someone in the apartment fed alcohol to her dog.
Now, she didn't want to leave because of anything other than there were a whole bunch of financially irresponsible people.
Yes, absolutely.
You had Joe sacking out on the couch because he wasn't working. You had your girlfriend coming over from Europe. She wasn't working. You had your friend Gregory, who was living with you and not paying his rent on time.
Yes.
And you had her, who was getting a 3-day eviction notice every month.
And, Your Honor, I took that burden upon myself,
I know.
and I took care of it. She never paid any extra out of pocket. I took care of it. We were never evicted.
You don't have to be evicted, sir. It goes down on your credit. You're late on a car payment, you're late on your rent. All that stuff accumulates, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
You lived there with 3 people the last 2 months of your lease.
Yes.
You, Greg, and your fiancé/wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pay your own rent.
I agree, Your Honor. And I did
Good.
pay my own rent.
Perfect. Pay your own rent
Yes.
for the apartment.
For the apartment, we
She's
had
not paying anymore.
Your Honor, we had an agreement.
Mr. Zaluki, pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
She's not paying anymore. Now we're going to get to the dog damage. Did she give you $250 to clean the carpet?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Could I see proof that you gave him $250 for any damage that your dog did to the carpet?
It shows that I transferred it to his account after I
I'd like
moved
to
out.
see it. By the way, Mr. Zaluki, did she pay April's rent?
Your Honor, she did not
God.
pay full April's rent.
That requires a yes or a no.
No, Your Honor.
You have proof that you paid April's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. How much was her rent?
$833, Your Honor.
She paid it on April 2nd, and she paid you $250 on May 7th to clean the carpet. Now I'm going to get to your counterclaim. Did you and your friend, the moron who maybe slept on the couch or somebody else, ever give her dog alcohol?
Negative,
No.
Your Honor.
Do you have a dog?
I do have a dog, Your Honor.
What kind of a dog do you
It's a
have?
Corgi Terrier.
Is there only one dog in the house?
At the time when we were living with Nicole, yes. When Dorothy moved in February, there was another dog.
Was there a pet deposit that you had to put down with your landlord?
Yes.
For whose dog? No. When you signed the lease, who had a dog?
When we signed the lease, Nicole had a dog.
And you put down a pet deposit?
Yes.
How much?
$250.
So is what you're telling me that pet deposit was still on the books when your girlfriend moved in with her dog?
Yes, correct.
You got a lot of nerve.
Your Honor, at that point...
I'm not listening. That was a statement, sir, which
Understood.
did not require an answer.
Okay.
Now, your counterclaim says that your dog got sick. You took the dog to the vet. The vet report is going to indicate that somebody fed the dog some sort of alcohol.
Or, yeah, poison. That's what.
I'd like to see it.
It's just all I have was the receipt.
Well, that's not good enough for me.
Okay.
Because anything else that you have to tell me is hearsay.
It does show that they gave her Toxaban, though, the charcoal.
If you had a medical report, I would read it.
Okay.
But you don't have a medical report, so I can't just look at that and then you tell me that the dog was sick and somebody told you that the dog had been fed some sort of a toxic material. Mr. Zaluki, I hope you're happy with your wife. She doesn't owe you any money.
Your Honor.
Case is dismissed.
Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm the type of person that if there's 10 people living there, that's fine.
You know, I paid money to be a friend and help the situation out.
But I'm not paying a third of the rent if 10 people are living there.
So people actually have a home, and
I think everything fell apart around September. That's when we had our first 3-day notice of eviction.
other people are, can't live up to their responsibilities.
And that was the first huge red flag, and everything just kind of unraveled after that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cornelius versus Turner. Step forward.
22-year-old Michelle Cornelius is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old Brittany Turner, for unpaid rent and for damaging her TV.
Miss Cornelius, how old are you?
I'm 22.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for assisted living, doing direct support care, working with the mentally disabled.
How long have you been working there?
I've been there for a year and a half now.
And you, Miss Turner, how old are you?
I'm 22.
And where do you work?
I work at Addis Healthcare. I'm a home care aide
How long have you been there?
since 2008.
Miss Cornelius, it is your claim that she owes you for some rent from when she was living with you and a broken television set.
Yes,
That's from a year ago.
yes.
And, I have an aversion towards cases that are a year old. So I read your case very carefully, which is why I asked you these questions. Because what you said was you didn't know how to get in touch with her.
No, I didn't.
Well, what do you mean you didn't know how to get in touch with her? She works at the same place where she's worked since 2008.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Me and her became to tussle. We started wrestling on the floor. And by the time I pushed Brittany off of me, she picked up my candle decorations off my table and threw it at my TV.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Cornelius says her former roommate, Brittany Turner, owes for rent and for smashing her TV. Brittany claims it's Michelle's fault her TV was damaged.
So it's very easy to track her down and to
I could
file a
never
small
catch
claims
Brittany up
court
there.
against her. What?
I could never catch Brittany up there. It's not like if I go into her
that's not a
job, they
question.
would.
When did you file a claim against her?
In May
May of
24th
what?
of 2010.
May of 2010.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you filed the same case against her in May of 2009, and you have her served at her place of business.
This just happened May 28th of 2009.
Then you filed the complaint in June 2009.
But Brittany explained to me that she was going to pay me my money.
That's not what you told me here, Miss Cornelius, in your complaint. You say to me, I was unable to track her down. You didn't say to me, when you swore to this complaint, I kept speaking to her and she kept telling me she was going to pay me. What?
I only spoke to Brittany once, then her phone was cut off.
Now you got 30 seconds to tell me about your case, because now I'm not believing much of what you're saying to me. Go.
Well, I met Brittany.
I don't care where you met her. She moved in with you. What months does she owe you rent for?
She owes me for April and May.
And tell me about the television set.
Brittany came in my house one day. She was going out. She went out one day on Thursdays. She came in the house knocking on the door loud and everything because she couldn't get in. She couldn't find her keys or something because she was drunk. I let her in the house. She was coming there noisy, I guess, from partying. She was still hyped up or whatever, and she was loud. I asked her could she quiet down because me and my daughter were asleep. She told me no, I didn't have to be quiet because I pay rent here. I explained to Brittany that she hasn't paid any rent for 2 months, and she was still loud. She ended up pushing up on me, getting in my face, and I asked her to back up. She's still pushing up on me in my face. Me and her became to tussle. We started wrestling on the floor, and by the time I pushed Brittany off of me, she picked up my candle decorations off my table and threw it at my TV. It's a set. She threw the whole set at the TV, in which I have pictures. She put 2 holes.
Did you report it to the police?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because after she did that, I asked her to leave. I told her she had to go. She needs to go now. She left the premises with no problem.
But she destroyed your property, according to you.
Yes, she did.
Well, that's a police matter.
I didn't think to call the police right then and there.
All right, Ms. Turner, your turn.
Okay, I did go out for drinks, Your Honor, but I never came home rowdy. Michelle was going tit for tat for me. She has an anger problem, first of all.
No, I don't.
Yes, I agree, we did.
Don't interrupt her.
We did have a tussle, but after we got through tussling, Michelle picked up her own candle holder, threw it at me, and I ducked her. She hit her own TV. So I'm not understanding why she's saying I bust her TV open, because to my knowledge, I did. I never was drunk or anything. I had 2 drinks that night. So I'm not understanding.
What do you mean you're not understanding?
Why she said I bust her TV.
Well, she's saying it because she says that that's what happened. You say she took a candlestick and threw it at you and it missed you and hit her TV.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
I don't know who's telling the truth and who's not.
My witness is here, Kiana Wise. I called her after the TV.
I don't care if you called her. She wasn't there. She's not a witness.
Okay.
Unless she, of course, confessed to her that she broke your TV.
No, she told me she would pay for everything. She told me, she was like, I understand that I did break the TV, and I'm going to pay to get it fixed. I'm going to pay you and your rent money. She told me that.
I don't believe that, Ms. Cornelius.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, listen to me carefully, Ms. Cornelius. You lied to me.
I didn't lie to you.
Yes, you did. You lied to me in your complaint.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You may say no. I'm going to have the last word. I'm telling you that you did. You tell me that the reason you didn't file this complaint is because you couldn't locate her.
I couldn't.
Until, hey, she's been working at the same place. Well, you already got that down pat. And I don't want to hear, I went up there and I didn't know if I could find her. I didn't know you could reach her. Let me ask you this question. When you filed your small claims court case against her this time, where did you serve her?
To her house, her mom's house. That was the last.
Just a second. Where has your mother been living?
Well, for the last 7-8 months, she's been living in Blue Island.
Is that where you're staying?
Yeah, from time to time, not really, no.
Who gave you the summons?
It came through UPS that I was
That's
being
the same
sued.
way you serve her at her job.
They told me I needed, when I tried to serve her and put her address, the court explained to me I needed a house address.
Well, that's not true. You can serve her.
That's what they told me, and that's why I was trying to figure out a house address, and I knew if I sent it to her mother's house, hopefully her mother would give her the summons.
Ms. Cornelius, I'm not satisfied about who broke your television set, so I'm dismissing your claim.
But if she knows
Bye.
what about the rent? She owes
Earlier, June 2009, not July 2010. Do you understand? This was wrong.
How was that wrong? If she didn't pay me for April and May.
I'm not going to tell you again. It was wrong because you could find her. You just chose not to for a year.
I did look for. I looked for her.
Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She was drunk.
I don't get drunk.
She broke my TV.
She broke her own TV.
Why would I break my own TV?
She got her side, I got my side.
If she just didn't want to admit to it, but I got something for her.
Nothing, because I'm not scared of no one.
I know where she lives.
She want to take it there, we can.
But she knows she owes me the money.
But I don't even worry about that because I'm grown, I'm a lady.
I'm going to get it one way or another.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Brooke Beeson claims former roommate Kimberly May broke their lease when she moved out of their apartment.
How old are you?
21.
Who is this?
My mother.
Thank you. Ms. Beeson, you and the defendant leased an apartment together. Were you both in college at the time?
She dropped out of college. I was still attending, yes.
And according to your complaint, she moved out.
Yes.
On the lease. She moved out on the lease, and in addition to moving out on the lease, she, according to you, defamed you by telling certain things to your landlord about what was going on in the apartment. You want to be compensated for both.
Absolutely.
Half of the rent and the defamatory remarks that she allegedly made to the landlord.
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
May 2006.
And you had known each other for a long time, according to what I read in the complaint. So this wasn't new. And it was just the two of you in the apartment?
Yes.
When did you move out?
June 29th, 2006.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me why you moved out.
Due to bad circumstances.
No, well, that's...
Drug use, and she clearly disrespected me after asking her plenty of times, her friends in and out of my stuff, my bathroom. I had to put a lock on my door because I didn't feel comfortable leaving my own house, and that's why I left.
Let me try to sort it out a little bit. You felt uncomfortable because her friends were coming to the house, and you felt uncomfortable with them.
Yes.
Why?
Because they were up all hours of the night using drugs.
Did you ever see anybody using drugs?
Yes.
Who?
Brooke and her friends.
What kind of drugs?
Marijuana, and that's all I saw.
Did you ever smoke marijuana?
Yes.
So they were up, they were partying, they were smoking marijuana.
That I know of.
That you know of, a substance that you also indulged in.
Not at the apartment.
Wherever. It's somebody's apartment. You didn't do it in the street, right?
Right.
But you didn't do it at school, right?
Right.
So you had to do it in somebody's apartment, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to put a lock on the door.
Yes.
Your bedroom door. Tell me when you put a lock on the bedroom door.
In May.
Tell me why.
Because I didn't feel my belongings were safe. She had people in and out of our apartment.
Miss May, did you have any rules that you set up to this apartment with Miss Beeson?
No.
Well, then you have a problem, madam. Your problem is you have to be a big girl.
I know that now.
And if you sign a lease on an apartment, you can't just pick up your marbles and go home. So far, you haven't given me one valid reason why you would be entitled to break a lease. You're alleging that you saw her and her friend smoking marijuana. Whether you did in the apartment or not, I don't know, but you certainly did it in somebody else's apartment, so you weren't frightened of drug use because you did it yourself.
Not at the time. Before I have.
Whatever. I didn't say at the time, before or after. So you weren't certainly frightened of what you saw there because it was something you had indulged in yourself. I mean, I can understand you not being happy if there's lots of partying going on. Did she complain to you about that? That's not an answer. Did she complain to you about people being in the apartment? Or...
Yes.
So what did you say to her?
They're mutual friends of ours, so at certain times, the same friends that would be there with me would be there when I would come home. Late at night, they would be over with her.
Well, why didn't you try to work it out? Sit down and work out a scenario where at 1 o'clock in the morning, everybody goes home, whether it's your friends or her friends. Why didn't you try to work it out?
Because it wasn't an ongoing thing. It wasn't day to day. It wasn't day in, day out. So it was never a continual issue.
Well, but she made it an issue. When did she tell you she was moving out?
Never told me. Moved
That's a
out.
lie.
Vacated the premises without any warning. Said she needed to talk to me the morning before. I came home from work. I said, you know what, I have school all day. I'll be home at 2 o'clock. I have to be at work at 5. If you want to talk when I get home from school, that's totally fine. If you want to meet me, I'll be here from 2 to 5 before I go to work. Came home, didn't say a word to me. I went to work, came home, and all of her things were gone.
What efforts did you make to find another roommate to take over your lease?
I told her 3 weeks prior to my moving out.
What efforts
I didn't
did you
make any.
Well, you have to. You can't just walk out on a lease. Now, what proof do you have that she made statements to the landlord about you?
I have a document that she had given to the apartment complex, if you want to look at this.
That she signed?
That she has signed, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to see it. Who prepared this letter for you?
Me and my mom wrote it.
Well, you can't just say, I accept no responsibility for rent or expenses relating to the apartment after June 29th, 2006. You have a contract with them, and you have a contract with her. And you made absolutely no effort to find another roommate. You have to be a big girl. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, why did you help her write this letter? Stand up when you talk.
Because she needed to write it at the time.
What do you mean she needed to write it at the time? I don't understand you. Did you know your daughter smoked marijuana?
She had before.
She had before?
Yes,
She
I did
probably had
know.
during, and I guarantee you she does afterwards, maybe not in the apartment, but it's not something that frightens her because she does it herself. And that's the only drug use that she ever says she saw in the apartment. So why would she sort of ascribe any untoward behavior to the plaintiff? It's outrageous. She's a baby, and she shouldn't be coddled by you. Should have told her not to rent the apartment in the first place. You have a roommate now?
No, I do not.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, I did for 1 month.
So you did have a roommate?
Yes.
When did the roommate move in?
In October. It was a temporary thing. He was moving in and moving out, and I needed the rent, so I told him he could move in for the 1 month that he was transferring places from where he was at to going back to his parents' house. It was an agreement we had from the start. He was the only person I could find, and I needed the money at the time, so any money's better than no money at this point.
Did you put any ads in the paper?
I have not, but I had a roommate lined up that bailed on me last minute, so it's just a bunch of...
Who's paying?
Mother does. I'm a full-time student.
When is the lease up?
May of 2007.
Well, you better see if you can find another roommate.
Absolutely, I'm in the
What's the
process.
rent?
$1,400. It's actually $1,391.
Okay, so it's $700 each. Is that right?
Not including utilities.
She moved out in May. Did you pay May's rent?
Yes.
Did you pay June's rent?
Yes.
You didn't pay July?
No.
Didn't pay August?
No.
Didn't pay September?
No, but she wrote me a letter saying that she was having a roommate move in September 1st, 2006, and I responded to her
Let me see.
letter.
Give her both of them.
Okay. Well, you wrote this letter to her, telling her exactly what she owed and that your daughter, fortunately, had found a roommate that will be moving in September 1st. You wrote the letter.
However, can I?
Yes.
Okay. Brooke had a girl from work lined up that had given us a $200 deposit, which we, on the itemization, showed that she had given us. The girl ended up not moving in. So we deducted $200, the deposit she had given, and we did get a deposit from her to secure us, but it didn't remove Kim from the lease. Anyways, she did not get another roommate until Chad moved in for 1 month. She has contacted everybody. She let the apartment know that she would move out if they could find somebody. A tenant had come to me regarding something, and I had tried to work something out where she could even take over the apartment so Brooke could move back home.
I got you. You have 3 months' rent so far. We have October that this fellow moved in, and you have November and December. That's 5 months' rent. It's $3,500. So far, that's what you owe her. And although I'm not happy with the letter that you sent, the letter does not indicate that the plaintiff is the one that was using drugs in the apartment. It says that there was drug use in the apartment. It doesn't describe that conduct particularly to her. Could have been other people, it could have been guests, etc. So I'm not awarding you any money for defamation. Right now, the entire lawsuit has not come to fruition yet. It's not become fixed yet because I am hoping that she will find a roommate.
So am I. I'm paying the rent.
Right, I got it. You can't do that. And your daughter can't do that. She's got a responsibility. Why should this mother be responsible for the rent? Let your daughter move in, she'll move out. You want to do that? Stand up. Move over. The apartment's lease goes until next May. Right now, Miss Beeson's mother has been footing the bills for your daughter's share of the rent. She's perfectly prepared for her daughter to come home and live at home. You want to assume the responsibility from January until May for your daughter? She'll move out and your daughter can move in. That way she can be safe. She can have only her own friends. How about it?
No, I would not.
Why?
Why? Because
Why is my question? Why is it okay for this lady to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted and not for you to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted?
Well, first of all, that lady doesn't have to pay anything. I don't have to pay anything.
Sure
They're
you do.
two adults.
No, just a second. You made an excuse for your daughter and you helped her craft a letter to get out of a lease. Your daughter had no right to move out.
May I say something? What if I find her a roommate?
No question. That's not my question. My question is, you can't stick her with the rent. What, instead of her having to pay you any money since she's already out that money, you move in. You find a roommate. You don't have to find her a roommate. Find yourself a roommate that you're happy with. How about it?
No.
Yeah,
May I say something?
Right. She's a big baby, and don't encourage her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise.
Now it's case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Hazeltine, Ireland versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Hazelton?
Hazeltine is my mother.
Miss Hazeltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Hazeltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Nice terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nice says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Nice. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. Seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing, uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay, well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in March?
Okay, that was the March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Nice never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating her tenancy?
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay, so things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She then
you have a turn. Okay. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she's still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st I was at the gym and I received a message from Miss Neese, and on the message she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, you know, I didn't understand.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so I called her up, and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, don't touch my mom. And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Neese,
Yes.
I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our
What
lease.
difference does that make? She already said, I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
Yeah, I called her on Saturday and asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene.
Well, she assaulted me. I have
They
pictures.
found
She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room because I was afraid they were going to come in again." I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. All the bruises, they hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
You make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Neese in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits.
Can I see
and so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there? One is a plaintiff and 1 is a defendant?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to this...
I'm not talking about... I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
1 was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her the security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit.
Okay.
You told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually, mine did not.
Well, not according
And
to
I
the
was
Ms. Neese. According to the police,
I was
the only
blatantly assaulted by her and her
Ms.
daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had
I'm
to
telling
pull them
you,
off of me.
And the police department.
when
I'm
she moved
speaking. When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaultive, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Ms. Neese. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
1
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruises?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in
then,
the arm, and she
a
says she bit
bruise
you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police department.
What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first In the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into it. But then she mentioned she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said
notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone. Not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do,
well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do. But when I rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she said I didn't.
And I honored them. So if she didn't want to.
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. There's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It was $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No.
Yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend is roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
Angela Ricker claims her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalizing her car. Sally is countersuing for car damage and lost wages.
Mrs. Ricker, this lady is your husband's, I assume this is your husband?
Yes.
Your husband's former wife?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she has been harassing you, that she's filed false charges against you, seeking a temporary restraining order, and you are seeking damages.
Absolutely.
The former Mrs. Ricker says that everything that she said in her application for a restraining order is true. She is counterclaiming for harassment and for vandalism that she alleges you did to her car. So, how long were you married to Mr. Ricker?
12 years.
You have children?
We have 3 children.
How old are they?
14, 12, and 7.
When were you divorced?
Our paperwork went through in 2005, but I left in 2002.
And when did you marry?
2 years ago, March 29th.
Do you have children?
No, we do not.
On what date was this restraining order filed?
I believe it was the 20th
of
March. The alleged incident was on the 17th, which would have been St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I'm going to start with you. Tell me your first name.
Sally.
So that we can differentiate between the Mrs. Rickers. You're Sally. Tell me what happened on March 17th.
On March 17th, I was at an establishment near where I work. My car was parked.
What
in the parking lot.
establishment were you near where you worked?
I was at a nail salon called Tammy's Salon.
Okay.
And I'm looking out the window. I happen to look out and I see both Tyler and Angela drive up, and I'm
What
shocked.
time?
It was about 2:30. I saw Tyler get out of the car, and then I saw Angela get out of the passenger side door, and together they hurriedly sort of walked into my place of employment.
What is the name of your place of employment?
I work at Trader Joe's. I happened to be off this day.
So you were off on March 17th?
I was.
How far is your place of employment from where you live?
4 miles across town.
Did you have an appointment for your nails?
No.
What was the name of the person who did your nails?
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. She's an Asian woman, and I don't know her name.
Does she usually do your nails?
No, I walk in.
So you don't go to any particular person?
Not at that place, no.
Is there any reason why you went to that place on that day, despite the fact that you weren't working that day?
I had some time to myself as I'm still parenting my 3 children. I don't get a lot of time away.
Yeah, but this place is cross town. Why would you go cross town unless you have a particular nail lady who does your nails and had an appointment rather than walking into some place that's closer and not cross town?
Well, it's inexpensive. I had a few hours to go do my nails and get some groceries.
Where were you getting your groceries?
At Trader Joe's.
Did you actually go into Trader Joe's?
No, I decided not to go in.
Go ahead, Sally.
So?
Go ahead. I'm listening. So they went into Trader Joe's and you were having your nails done by a person whose name you don't know, and you just happened to be looking out the window. Let me hear the rest.
Yes, so they continued to walk in and they asked for me while they were in the store. And
How do you know that?
Because I had a conversation with my son. I called my son after I saw them.
Just a second, you called your son where?
I called my son from my cell phone.
And where was he?
He was at his grandmother's house. And I asked them if he had heard from his dad that day, because we haven't heard or seen from Tyler in 9 months. And so I called my son to see if he had heard from his dad this day to find out why he would be in town. And he said, yes, he was there with Angela, and they were looking for you at the store.
What's your son's name?
My son's name is Aaron.
How old is he?
He's 14.
Stand up, sir. Did you call your son that day, Mr. Richter?
I did.
Where did you reach him?
I
on his
reached
cell
him
phone?
Yes, on his cell phone. He was at my parents' house.
At your parents' house?
Yes.
And did you ask him where his mother was?
I asked if his mother was at work.
Why?
Because I had part of his birthday present to give to him.
Which part?
A credit card that had come in the mail after his birthday.
Did you see him that day?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because he was at my parents' house.
Are you not allowed to be there?
It's not a comfortable place for me to be, but I'm allowed to be there.
Well, if you wanted to give him a credit card, why did you ask where his mother was?
I was going to give it to her if she was there.
So did you end up giving him his birthday present?
I did not.
Why not?
I was told she was not there.
Did you go into Trader Vic's?
Trader Joe's?
Trader
yes.
Joe's?
Yes, I did go into Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, Trader. What?
Had a cup of coffee, and my wife and I did a little bit of shopping.
On the 17th of March, how long had it been since you'd seen your son?
I had seen him on his birthday, which was 1 month prior to that.
Where did you see him?
I saw him in Pleasanton at his mother's house.
Spent some time with him?
Yeah.
Why did you say he hadn't seen the children for 9 months?
Prior to that, Tyler had left Angela.
Listen to me. You told me that he hadn't seen the children for 9 months. He said he saw his son in February, a month before. Well, which is true.
He did not come to our house.
I didn't care whether he came to your house or not. I don't care whether he saw the children at McDonald's. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
I asked you a question. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
Did he see his son in February of 2007?
He did not see his son on February 15th.
I didn't ask you about February 15th. I said, did he see his son in February?
No, he did not see his son in February.
I don't believe you.
He saw his son on March 28th when he left his wife Angela and came into town for a few days.
Are you on medication?
No, I am not.
There is no question in my mind that he saw his son in February, a month before the March incident. So when I asked you the question 4 times, you gave me an evasive answer. 4 times. Now I'm asking you one more time. It's very easy for me to find out. All I have to do is call Aaron. Did he see Aaron in February, anywhere, at any time during the month of February of 2007?
I'm telling you that he did not see his son in February. I would have known that because we were together. If he saw his son, it could have been at school.
Where did you see him in February?
I saw him the weekend before his birthday. I had a hotel room in Pleasanton at Extended Stay Hotels. His mother dropped them off there, all 3 of my children.
All 3 children?
Yes, they stayed with me for the entire weekend, including Monday, which was a holiday. I saw them later at her house in February.
Of 2007.
And I was there on his birthday.
In February 2007.
Yes.
Let's go, Sally.
That is not true.
That
is not true.
Just a second. You want me to call Aaron? Very simple to find out. He has a cell phone?
Yes, he does.
You want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? Do you want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? I hate to get him involved in this, but I'm prepared to do it because it's very important to me.
It's important to me to be able to speak as well. So
I asked you a question. Did he see his children in February of 2007. And I'm going to be able to find that out either through you or through Aaron, who I will reach on his cell phone.
On February 27th, yes. In February, Tyler saw Aaron.
Fine. Okay, now you're going to tell me that you saw Angela vandalize your car.
Yes, I did.
Is that you're going to continue? Let's go.
So on the way back out to the car, I was watching Angela as she had circled my car, and she started by standing and waiting for me, and then I saw her come around all 4 circles of my car with sort of a dragging movement with her arms swiping. And when I saw her out there, I had no idea what she could have been doing to my car. I knew that she may have been...
Don't tell me what you thought. I don't care what you thought.
Okay.
You have pictures of your car and you have a police report.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
These are the 2 that printed out. And then this is the police report. It spans all 4 doors of my car. Unfortunately, there are only 2 pictures that showed up.
Did you scratch her car?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened when you left Trader Joe's.
We got into the car and we went home. We were going to my grandmother's. When I go from San Leandro to Stockton, where my family is, we usually stop at that Trader Joe's. It's right off the highway. It's very convenient for me. After all of this happened, it ruined my trip and I went home. I was devastated. I was very angry.
What do you mean after all of this happened? What
Well,
happened?
she told Erin on the phone that I had done this to her car, you know, involved a 14-year-old in this. It just really, it hit. And then when I got accused of this and a police report was put out, brought into court.
Can I see the underlying paperwork, please,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
went along with her application for a restraining order?
Yes, ma'am. Since we've established that, most of that is fallacious. It's false. There's nothing about bipolarity nor schizophrenia.
Okay. In your application for an order of protection, which is, I assume, written in your own hand, you say Angela came to my place of work unannounced, and she later called my son and verbally abused him. Did you speak to Aaron later?
I did speak to Aaron.
Tell me what happened when you spoke to him.
I spoke to him and I asked him why he was saying those things to
Saying
his
what
father.
things?
That I had vandalized the car, that I'd gone into her work looking for her, harassing, stalking, using those words. Aaron and I have never had any problems. I haven't seen the children in almost a year because of this behavior. I've refused to allow them in my home when I'm there.
Why?
Because of her. She debriefs them every time they go home. It's a drama from Friday to Sunday. Phone calls, it's just never a drop-off pickup. It's always something, and I couldn't handle it. Our marriage has been in jeopardy for almost 2 years because of this.
In your application for a restraining order,
Yes.
you say Angela is explosive
Yes.
and goes on and off her medication for schizophrenia and bipolar illness.
That's according to my ex-husband.
Did you ever tell her that?
Absolutely not.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
When did he tell you that she was bipolar and schizophrenic?
When he left her in February, it was February 27th, he left because they were having a domestic dispute.
Okay, so he left and in February.
In February, yes.
Go ahead.
I know I won't live that one down. I'm sorry.
You won't?
I know. I'm sorry. So, anyway, his brother brought him into town. He didn't have any money. He didn't have a job. Nothing. Brought him into town. He said he wanted to see the kids. And from that point, he had not seen the kids for 9 months, okay?
So why would you tell me that he didn't see the children in February when he did?
Well, no, because, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous today. I'm very, very sorry.
That's nervous is not an answer, madam. You told me a very cogent story about everything that you allegedly saw with regard to this lady, how she stalked your car, how she bent down, how she had sweeping motions. But when I asked you a question a half a dozen times, you refused to give me an honest answer about when your husband last saw his children.
He wasn't at my house on February 15th, which was
I didn't ask you anything about February 15th. I didn't even know when Aaron's birthday was.
Okay.
I asked you February. You said 9 months. He said February. It wasn't until I was planning to call Aaron and find out whether he had seen his father in February that you finally said he saw him in February. Do you understand that that gives me cause to pause?
Yes.
Well, it does. Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You ever been diagnosed as schizophrenic?
No, ma'am.
Bipolar?
No, ma'am. Your Honor, it was not February 27th that we separated. It was the beginning of the month. He was in Point Reyes. He decided to stay there with a friend at a bed and breakfast to do some work on the home. He was at her house. He called me from her house.
I understand that.
Angela Ricker says her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalism.
Now, you let him stay with your children? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Have your children spent time with the plaintiff in her home?
Yes, they have.
And they've come home in one piece?
Basically.
Not for a year.
Shh. Others to be protected. Absolutely. Angela has no discretion when she is angry. My children should never be anywhere near this person.
They have a history of domestic violence.
Was there a history of domestic violence with you?
I left.
That's just a second. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
So there was a history of domestic violence with you?
With my husband.
So, I got it. And you allowed that situation to go on more than once?
Yes.
You allowed your children to remain in a situation where there was domestic violence?
I left that
You let it go
situation.
on for a long time? Do you understand, Mrs. Richter? Do you have a full-time job?
I do.
How long have you been working for the same place?
This job I have currently is 4 months.
Do you have a significant other or a husband?
No, I do not.
Are you working? Take your hands out of your pockets.
Not right now, no.
Why not? Is not an answer.
I had a job up until April 1st working on airplanes. I was let go from that job.
Up until April 1st, were you paying child support?
I was.
How much?
$411 a month was taken from my checks.
How long had you been paying the $411?
Only for a month at that point, and then there was a large gap between that point and the last time I held a job.
Well, Mr. Richter, that's unacceptable, sir.
I understand that.
Very unacceptable. No, not
I'm
unacceptable.
injured, Your Honor. I'm injured.
Very unacceptable, sir.
I do understand that. I was injured at my last job,
Yeah?
and the injury prevented me from working.
What was the last job?
The last job was working for Vortex Stores,
Yeah?
and
What year?
from June to August of 2006.
Well, that's a couple of months, sir.
I understand that. I was injured. I had a severe back injury.
So that you were out of work for 2 months.
I was out of work until I got a job in March of 2007.
Who supports you?
Workman's Comp was supposed to be, but the company that hired me is fighting all of that, and so Workman's Comp did not pay my payments. That's currently
So you've been
in litigation.
You've been separated from your former wife since 2002.
Since 2002.
Since 2002, until you were injured. Just listen to me carefully. Until you were injured in June of 2006, were you regularly paying child support?
I was. I regularly paid child support when I had a job.
That's not my question. Don't play with me.
Oh, I'm not
You
playing
two people
with you, Your
deserve
Honor.
each other. You two people deserve each other. Not when you were working. How old are you?
I'm 40.
You have 3 children.
I understand
There is
that.
no question that you have to be employed regularly. And I don't care whether you work at McDonald's or if you don't have another job, if you work at a car wash, drying cars, if you can't do something else. You have 3 children. No wonder she's furious with you. You work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a registered nurse.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do.
So you support the family?
Yes, I do.
Right. No wonder she's furious with you. Collect cans if you have to, but you send money. And if she's angry with you, unfortunately, she took it out on the wrong person. Because I don't believe you, madam, that you saw her vandalize your car. I don't believe you. The case was dismissed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did anybody else ask you the questions that I asked you about the name of this person who did your nails, why you traveled cross town to get your nails done? Was the person who tried this case?
No, he did not.
He did not?
No.
Because he doesn't understand that you don't travel cross town to just walk into a nail salon. You can walk into a nail salon anywhere. You don't have to travel 4 miles cross town to do that. A lot of baloney. I don't believe you. I believe that you're angry with him. And I believe that you're angry with her because she's an enabler, because she's working. He's not, at least on the books anywhere, and he's not paying support. I got that you're angry, but you can't do this. This is nonsense, and I don't believe you.
Well, I saw it happen.
No, it didn't. I think that you probably even scratched your own car, but I don't believe that she scratched your car. I don't believe that this professional woman scratched your car.
I wouldn't have done that to
No
my car.
way. No way. And when you lie to me once, I don't believe you again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Start working, sir. That's what you're supposed to do. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Danielle Hines says her former live-in boyfriend, Devin Kilpatrick, owes for rent and the return of property. Devin says he moved out after Danielle filed for a restraining order.
Matt, Ms. Hines, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You
Yes.
lived together. He's also the father of your child.
Yes.
You had a lease together. He moved out 4 months prior to the lease terminating.
Yes.
You took him to court for 2 months of the 4 months.
Yes.
Because the other 2 months hadn't passed yet. And you got a judgment against him for those 2 months.
Yes.
Now you want the last 2 months of the rent that he owes you. And you also claim that you had a lot of pain and suffering because he wasn't a nice guy.
Yes.
Well, forget pain and suffering. You don't get paid for pain and suffering. You terminate a relationship for pain and suffering. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you want your rent.
Yes.
Mr. Kilpatrick has a very good excuse for not paying the rent for the last 2 months.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
He says that the reason he didn't pay rent for the last 2 months is because you filed a restraining order against him and his mother, and so he couldn't live in the apartment, and if he couldn't live in the apartment, then he wasn't going to pay rent.
Not
That's
true.
his defense.
Yes.
So, when did you move into the apartment?
We moved in March 14, 2006.
And you were both on the lease?
Yes, we were.
And when did you leave, sir?
I'm not exactly sure.
When did he
I
leave?
am November 9th, and they filed for the restraining order. He was
November 9th,
Yes.
2006.
Yes.
And when did you file a restraining order
I
against him?
filed November 2nd, but he was served November 14th at 5:55 a.m.
But you had filed it on November 2nd.
Yes.
I want to see the allegations that you put in the restraining order application. Thank you. You filed this on November the 2nd, and according to this, it says the most recent date of abuse was September 10th, 2006. And you say he strangled me to the point that I could not scream anymore. He also stated that he would only get a slap on the wrists.
If he did it again.
It would be something he would hit me because it was his first offense. And you filed this 2 months later. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Between September 10th and November the 2nd, when you went to the police to file for this restraining order, where were you living?
I was staying there, but he wasn't.
You were in the apartment?
Yes.
And he was not living there?
He was still living there, but he never came home. He was in and out. He would go to his mom's house. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms. I was sleeping in my daughter's room, and he was sleeping in our bedroom.
Fine. So then my question, 2 months later, what prompted you to go to the police?
I don't have transportation. Not only was I trying to get to the courthouse to file a restraining order on him, everything in between then, I was going to the police station. I was always talking to the police about what I can do about our child and him getting out of the apartment, but not necessarily him moving out because I still needed him to pay his half of the rent.
Just a second. You asked for, in your restraining order, a stay-away order asking that he may not be within 15 feet from you. How was he supposed to be within 15 feet from you if he was still living in the apartment?
Because at the time, whenever he would come home, he would go in his room, and I'll either be sleeping in the living room on the floor or in our bedroom.
Listen, did you want him out of the apartment or in the apartment?
I wanted him to stay because he was still on
Then
the
there was
lease.
no reason for you to file for a protective order.
I just
It's
didn't want him to
nonsense.
hit me again.
You said that the last time he put his hands on you was when he choked you 2 months before. That's what you swore to in here.
Yes.
So that there had to be a reason, 2 months later, that you went to the police, you managed to find your way to the police.
Yes.
And file this protective order.
I went to the courthouse to file that.
Listen, you're not being honest with me. He moved out, he had a right to move out. He would have been crazy to stay there. Absolutely insane to stay there with a protective order. When all you have to do is pick up the phone, call the police, they come, they arrest him. And all you have to do is say, he threatened me, and he finds himself in jail. So he would be insane to stay in the apartment.
May I please say something?
Sure.
It says right here that he was not even served. He didn't even know I had a restraining order on him until after. I'm telling you.
It doesn't make any difference whether he knew or not, madam. You knew.
Yes.
So how dare you come here knowing that you had the restraining order, that you didn't serve on him for another couple of days, but you knew you had it, and still want him to pay rent?
Because his name was still on the lease. I did not ask Devin to leave. They said 15 feet because his name was still on the lease. They could not kick him out. I had no choice. I didn't want him to put his hands on me again, Judge.
Good.
I was afraid. I didn't know what else to do.
I understand. You should have left. Should have left. But you can't go get a restraining order on him and say you have to stay in the house, despite the fact that I have a restraining order on you.
Okay.
So now you are like my prisoner. You look at me cross-eyed, I'm going to call the police. Whether he did anything bad to you in September or not, I don't know. Certainly you didn't go to the police in September. So he would be nuts to stay with you. And now you come to court and you say, I want him to pay the rent.
Yes, because...
When he did nothing to you in November, nothing to you in October, nothing to you 3 weeks in September. If I believe that you got into a fight and he put his hands on you in September, I'm not condoning that.
Okay.
And if you put him out right away, I would have said, okay.
Okay.
And if I believed that he choked you in September, I would have said, you're bad. You have to pay the rent.
Okay.
But when you wait 2 months, there's something else going on.
I tried.
Okay,
I
I'm
did
trying
everything-
to. Believe me, I'm
Judge,
trying.
I did everything I could to get to the police department. I went throughout the month of October to get information on what I could do because he's the father of my child. I was trying to ask for information about child custody and what I could do about everything.
I'm not talking about child custody.
I know
I'm talking
domestic violence.
I'm talking about a restraining order.
Okay.
Not child custody, not support, not anything else. Just about the fact that you were in abject fear of him and in need of a protective order that excluded him from the house. Because not to be within 15 feet of you is a ridiculous order against somebody that you expect to live in the apartment with you. Ridiculous. I'm telling you, you cannot live with somebody with a restraining order and expect them to stay in the apartment because of the way the laws are recognized now. All you have to do is call the police and say, he looked at me cross-eyed, I want him arrested. And then he's there on a violation of a protective order, which allows them to incarcerate him for up to 6 months by just looking at you cross-eyed.
But those were not my intentions.
Oh, listen, I don't care what your intentions were or not. The fact is you did have a restraining order against him, and he was perfectly right to leave because you didn't go and file that restraining order at the time you allege he hurt you. You waited 2 months. So there was some other agenda that you had, and I don't know what that was because you look at me, like you don't understand what I'm talking about. But then you were served with the restraining order and you came back into the apartment with your mother.
No, not my mother.
When?
Around, I guess, a week later.
After you were served?
Yeah, I came, I got all my stuff, and then that was it.
Not true.
You came and you got some of your stuff, included the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what she's annoyed at because
I
the
had
refrigerator, she said, was given to both of you as a couple by your mother.
She didn't give it to us both as a couple.
I don't care. Yeah, she did at the time because you were both eating out of the refrigerator, I
Judge.
assume. But he's allowed to keep the refrigerator.
It was not a week later. It was the same day because I had to purchase a refrigerator the very same day. I have the receipt with the date.
But I don't understand what you want, and I don't understand what your pain and suffering is.
Because I almost had a miscarriage. I had to be taken out of school literally on November 29th. My doctor had to write me an excuse because I had to keep on being rushed to the hospital. And I have all the hospital papers stating that I had
You have a hospital paper that says it's his fault that you almost had a miscarriage?
Well, it was stress.
Of course it's stressful. Life is stressful, madam. Life is stressful.
Yes, it is.
Life is stressful. You don't want to be stressed until you're sure about somebody. You shouldn't get pregnant by them.
Actually, those were my intentions either.
Well, not your intentions. That what you do is you take care.
But I was on birth control. I have the papers proving that I was on birth control. You would like to see it.
Well, I suggest you sue the birth control company because it failed. Listen to me, Miss Hines. Are you living in the apartment now by yourself?
Yes. No.
Well, how are you supporting yourself?
I had money that was saved up, and I spent all that money on the rent.
How old are you?
I'm 20 and a half.
So why don't you go to your father or your mother's house? You're 20 years old and you have a baby. He should pay child support, but he's not going to support you. You're not his wife.
I know.
He said he'll contribute to the support of his child. He absolutely should do that.
But
Are you
he's
paying
not.
child support?
No, not yet.
Why not?
She just, I don't know, she just filed it, I guess.
She doesn't have to file it. Did you see your baby?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
You have to take care of your baby.
I see him when I can. I work about 6 days a week, so I can't be there all the time.
Well, if you work 6 days a week, then what you should do is you should have enough money to help support him.
But he
And you don't
doesn't.
need a court order to tell you that, sir. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I should see the money coming out of your wallet right now.
Please, for some diapers. I would like some diapers.
Listen
for
to
our
me.
son.
Don't talk to him.
Okay, I won't.
I should see money coming out of your wallet now. Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
Get it out.
Don't have none in my wallet.
How could a man who works 6 days a week not have any money in their wallet?
I don't keep money in my wallet.
Where do you keep it?
In the bank.
Good. How much money do you have in the bank?
Don't know.
Well, I've got news for you, sir. When ultimately you're going to want to see this child, and the tape of this is going to be available for her, for whatever, you get no sympathy from me if a father needs a court order to tell him that he's supposed to pay child support. Court's not supposed to tell you that. In here, is supposed to tell you that. Do you understand? So the support should be forthcoming. You don't have to pay anything for rent. Because she wanted to live alone, she filed for a protective order against you. And if that's the case, then she pays the rent. Got it?
Okay.
And if you don't want to pay the rent, go home to your mother. Or get a job and start supporting yourself.
I will.
Good. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated with a broken window on her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Miss McLeod, you and the defendant were friends. It's my understanding that you wanted to take a little day road trip together. You needed a car, so you rented a car on your credit card.
Yes.
And you were going from someplace to San Diego?
Actually, we were going from Austin, Texas to South Padre Island. And Justin had told me that he had to be on the rental car agreement because I couldn't rent the car by myself because I was under 21.
Okay, but the car was leased with your credit card?
Yeah.
Okay, and he was driving?
Yes.
What time did you rent the car?
We had gone that Friday. It was sometime in the afternoon to rent the car. And then we were going to leave for South Padre shortly after we had rented the car.
And you did?
Yep.
Was he drinking?
When the incident occurred, he had been to a few bars. He'd had a few drinks.
Well, that would be a yes.
Yes.
To make a long story short, what happened was he took the car to go from one place to another. I don't know where you were going. But according to you, pulled the car over and fell asleep. But fell into a dead sleep coma because the police came up to the car and they tried to wake you.
It was actually parked in a parking spot.
They tried to wake you, and they couldn't wake you from this deep coma sleep. They banged on the door, they rapped with their baton, and then they feared for your safety. Since the car was locked, they busted out the window of the car in order to ensure that you were safe.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated in her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Now, the car had to be taken in to be fixed. You paid for the window, but it took time, and she was charged $500 extra on her credit card that she feels as if you're responsible for, because but for the fact that you fell asleep in the car, it wouldn't have happened. That's your case.
Yes.
Mr. Lawler has an interesting defense that we are all breathlessly waiting to hear.
When we first rented the car, I actually told her to get the rental car insurance because that way if anything did happen, we would not be liable for the damages done. And at that time, she said that she had insurance. It would be $100 cheaper. The guy rang it up with the insurance on it for the rental car. And then she said, well, no, it'd be cheaper if we do it the other way. I didn't want to because I had rented a car before and know that if you get rental car insurance, it covers everything. So she insisted on putting her current insurance on there. And once we got down there, her mom, she talked to her, told her the insurance was on there. And then her mom said if anything happened to that car, that their insurance would get dropped. So the insurance didn't cover the actual damages done at all.
Can I say something? What?
No!
Oh, sorry.
I'm not finished with him yet.
Sorry.
So let me understand his defense. His defense is she should have taken out the insurance.
What?
That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to you?
Well, that sounds like what he said.
That sounds right. Yeah. Why did you fall asleep in the car, Mr. Lawler?
Why did I fall asleep in the car?
Just a second. Is there an echo in here? I know that you think that it's going to give you an opportunity to think of a reason.
He wasn't sleeping. Sorry.
I'll get back to you. Why did you fall asleep in the car?
I had a couple drinks and I passed out in the car, and it was parked in a parking spot.
There you go.
I was not driving the car, though, that night.
All right, Mr. Lawler, let's dissect what you just said to me.
Okay.
You think that because you talk fast, that I'm not going to be able to dissect what you said to me? Okay. So you had had a few drinks and you passed out in the car.
I pulled the car over. I didn't drink.
That's what you just said. Had a few drinks. Now, where did you do this drinking?
I had a couple hotel rooms.
Not in bars. You were in hotel rooms.
No, I was actually... Sorry.
Who were you in hotel rooms with?
Just different kids we were selling tickets for our Akon party that next day.
How many different hotel rooms had you been in drinking that night?
Just a couple, actually.
Same hotel?
Just different ones.
Different hotels?
Yes.
How did you get there from one to the other?
Drove the first.
I drove.
The first one, yes.
Just a minute. I drove. And how'd you get to the second one?
The second one?
Yes, the
My
second
friend took
one.
me the second one in his
The
car.
second one. Your friend took you in his car, and you left your car where?
There's a condo that was parked at.
You didn't tell me you were in a condo, sir. You said you were in hotel
Well,
room.
that's what South Potter has, condos and hotels. We just go to different ones.
You told me you were in a hotel room. Do you see where we're going, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Cameras pick up everything. So do my eyes. I have very, very bad vision when I have to read something without my glasses. Far away, I can tell a smirk and an I gotcha from a mile away. What do you do for a living?
I'm a promoter for a production company.
They're usually pretty glib and pretty light on their feet. Promoters. I've been promoting myself for 3 times as long as you're alive. You owe her for the car. And you're going to pay her for the car because it was your fault.
Even though the insurance...
Your fault! Nobody laid you down, pried open your mouth, and poured alcohol down your throat. Nobody told you to fall asleep in the car. Nobody told you not to tell your friend, would you please take me back to one of these condos where I'm supposed to be staying tonight? Nobody told you any of that. You were drunk. You drove a car drunk. You passed out in the car. Your fault. You pay for it.
The remaining charges that he owes me for is $541.63.
Did you pay for your half of the rental?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $541.63. Thank you very much. That's all.
Kelly Babert claims former friends Heather and Mary Wilson had been harassing her. Kelly says the harassment started after she was stabbed by one of Heather's friends.
Now, it's case number 47 on the calendar in the matter of Johnston Barbera versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Johnson?
Yes.
This is your daughter?
Yes.
Your daughter was the victim of very serious assault.
Yes.
When did that take place?
June 3rd of 05.
She was stabbed. Is that right? It is your claim that these 2 young ladies, one of them was involved in the stabbing, and since the perpetrator of the crime was arrested, both of them have engaged in a course of conduct that amounts to serious harassment of Kelly. And since their mother has not been responsible in seeing to it that they behave themselves, you want her to be responsible now and pay the damages. Miss Wilson says her daughters were in no way involved in this and have not, in fact, been harassing your daughter. That's your defense. Is that right?
My daughters were not involved in the stabbing, no.
Okay. Who's Heather? Everybody can sit down except Heather. No, you stay there.
Oh, okay.
When did the stabbing take place, Heather?
June 3rd.
Was it a school day or not a school day?
It was school day.
Who were you with after school?
I didn't go to school. I was sick that day.
But you didn't stay home.
I did stay home.
No, you didn't. You didn't stay home all day. Listen to me. Let's understand something. I don't care what you told your mother. I don't care what you told the police. I don't care what you told anybody. We're going to have a truthful conversation here. Otherwise, it's going to be very unpleasant for you. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the name of the girl who stabbed Kelly is what?
Michelle Brooker.
Otherwise known as?
Shelly Brooker.
And she is a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet her on June the 3rd? What time?
I don't know exactly what time it was.
Morning or afternoon?
It was afternoon.
Did she come to your house or did you go to her house?
I didn't go to her house. We met up.
Met where?
At the corner store.
How did you know to meet her at the corner store?
She called me and asked her to meet her there.
What did she say to you when she called you?
She said that her and Kelly were going to begin in a fight, and I said okay, and she asked me to meet her there, and I met her there.
She said she and Kelly, this young lady,
Yes,
was going to be in a fight, and she wanted you to meet her there for what reason?
I guess to get in a fight.
So you met her at the corner store. Who else was there?
Just me and her.
And where did you go?
To the park.
Who was in the park?
Datrion, Cameron.
Who's Datrion?
My friend.
Who else?
Cameron, my friend. Chris.
Chris? Who was Chris?
My friend.
Are you tired?
Yes, ma'am. And Marquis.
Who was Marquis?
My friend.
And Shelley?
And a whole bunch of other people that I didn't know.
Where was Kelly?
There.
With whom?
With all of them.
And what about Shelley? Were they Shelley's friends as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Uncross your hands. And what happened when you got to the park?
They were yelling back and forth.
Stop moving. Who was yelling back and forth?
Kelly and Shelly.
What happened?
Well, I saw Heather and Shelly walking, and then they sat down like by the bleachers by us, and they were just talking for a little bit, and then we started yelling.
What were you yelling?
Just like we were just calling each other names. And
who were you calling names?
Shelly, and it was going back and forth.
Why were you unhappy with Shelly, and why was Shelly unhappy with you?
We didn't get along. Like we just never really. I didn't really know her. Like I wasn't friends with her. It was just kind of an acquaintance.
Were you in the park intending to fight that day?
Yeah.
Who had called you?
Well, I was over at Chris's house with those people that she named off, and I can't remember if Chris called Shelly, but they were talking on the phone, and then plans kind of happened.
Plans kind of happened to have a fight?
Yes.
So you all go to the park to have a fight, is that right?
Yes.
And that's why you're there as well, correct? Yes, did you have any weapon?
No.
Did you have any weapon?
Nope.
But Shelly had a weapon. When for the first time did you see Shelly's weapon?
When she pulled it out.
And where was she when she pulled it out?
Right next to Kelly, fighting her.
And what did she pull out?
Switchblade, I think.
Switchblade. And what did she do with the switchblade?
Stab Kelly.
How many times?
5, I think. That's what I heard.
Well, you were standing right there.
I was a distance, but I was there, yeah.
And after she stabbed Kelly 5 times, what did you do?
Left.
Who did you leave with?
Nobody. By myself.
Who called an ambulance for her?
I don't know.
Why didn't you?
Because I didn't want to go to jail.
Go to jail for what?
Because they would have thought that I was part of it.
Oh, you think so?
I thought so.
You think so?
I was scared. I was only 13. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, who called an ambulance for her?
I have no idea. I left.
But you did know one thing, madam. You knew that Shelly had committed a vicious assault, and as far as you could tell that day, she might have been dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did Shelly come to your house?
It's not for...
No. When did Shelly... Look at me. When did Shelly come to your house?
Like a month after, weeks after.
Are you telling me that you didn't speak to Shelly between June 3rd?
I spoke to her.
And where was she when you spoke to her?
Over the phone. Not in...
Where was she when you spoke to her?
She didn't tell me.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If your mother believes you, then she wants to believe you. I don't believe you. Because a 13-year-old girl says, where are you? The police are looking for you.
She said, I don't want the police to know, and so I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Did you call the police and tell the police that you had been receiving phone calls from her?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know.
And when did she come to your house?
Months afterwards. You can ask my mother.
You mean, I'm not asking your mother, I'm asking you. Does your mother work?
Yes, ma'am.
She's out of the house Monday through Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there. She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there, and she doesn't know whether Shelly came to the house, you gave her food, you gave her money, you gave her clothes. She doesn't know any of that. I know it.
Well, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. The same way you walked away, leaving her to bleed to death, is the same way that you helped your friend Shelly, because you went there to fight at your friend Shelly's request. That's why you went there.
I didn't go to fight.
Then you should have stayed home, because according to you, you didn't go to school because you were sick. Now, when your mother came home, did you tell her what happened?
No, ma'am.
No, because you were supposed to be home, so you lied to her. Again, right?
Yes.
How long did you lie to your mother?
I didn't keep making up lies, but until...
Well, when for the first time did you tell your mother that you had been there and witnessed a stabbing?
When the detective showed up at my house.
That's right. So until then, you kept lying to your mother.
Well, I just didn't tell.
How long were you hospitalized?
For like a week.
Where were you stabbed?
My stomach, both my arms, my back, and my leg.
What kind of a sentence was imposed on Shelly?
She got 2 years. I don't remember what if it was first-degree assault.
She's incarcerated for 2 years?
Yeah.
How old is she?
I think she's a year younger than I am.
How old are you?
17.
She's still incarcerated?
Yeah, she gets out in November.
Did she go to trial?
Yes.
She went to trial? What was her defense? I'm curious.
She said that it was self-defense.
Self-defense. Where was the other knife?
It wasn't.
That's why she was convicted. Now, it is your claim that these 2 young ladies have been harassing you. And as a matter of fact, you have protective orders. I want you to tell me when the first incident of harassment started.
Well, I can't remember which one was first or whatever, but there was like a whole bunch of stuff off MySpace and just writing back and forth. And Mary was just like talking about she's too old to fight me or whatever, but she has other people that will. And
when did she say that to you?
She wrote it on MySpace.
Can I see it, please?
I'm going to give you the police report also that verified it, because when we went to print that out, we were out of printer ink, and she took it off immediately after, but we have 3 of the different things here.
How old are you?
20.
Is there something wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why did you even communicate at all with her?
The reason that I communicated with her was on MySpace, like she had said was true. But through a friend of ours, there's a picture of my daughter on his MySpace, or there was. I couldn't print it out because he deleted the picture, but she said that my baby was ugly.
So what?
And you can't delete male messages off MySpace to show others.
You just told me that you communicated with her.
On a phone call, but I didn't communicate on a MySpace message.
Well, what did you say to her?
I was calling her a whole bunch of names and told her that she should have kept mine and my kid's name out of her mouth. And I did say that she's lucky that I was too old to beat her up. But I never said that I had friends that could beat her up or anything like that.
Actually, it says it right here that...
Can I see it, please?
Yeah.
She called the house the same evening. She emailed, and then later that night, Kelly and I both answered the phone.
You called again between 8:30 and 9 p.m.
That's the only time I called her.
Shelley didn't kill you when she stabbed you, but I will?
No, that is not me writing that. Why would I try to kill a little kid? I don't want to go to jail. I have a daughter. This is...
Yeah, I don't think that you wanted to do that at all. I just think that you said it just to be stupid.
Yeah, but
I don't think that you meant it at all. I think that you said it to be stupid.
I mean, yes,
now, when did you know that your sister was having trouble with her?
I knew when the detective came to our house and spoke that she had been at the stabbing. And I figured that they had problems because her and Shelley didn't get along. So I figured my sister's Shelley's friend, then obviously she's not going to get along with her either.
Your sister has a bad attitude. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You know, not a bad, very bad attitude.
Yes, I'm very aware.
Does your mother know that your sister has a very bad attitude?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell from looking at her face. If I were her mother and had a face like that, look at me when I talk to her, it would be the last time I would look at that face, madam. It would be the last time I would look at that face. How old are you?
15.
Do you want to be a miserable, ugly person your whole life?
No, ma'am.
Well, you're starting out that way. You really are. You can either be successful and productive, or you can be a loser. Right now, you're on the road to loser. Big time. Does your mother tell you that?
No.
Well, I'm telling you, big time. You've got a miserable attitude. I can tell that from 20 feet away. I didn't even have to live with you as long as your sister did. You think that people are going to be attracted to you because you're tough?
No, ma'am.
They won't. They'll think you're an idiot. Can't you do anything with her?
I've tried. As you can see, it's complete opposite, and trust me, we've tried. It's just, if you don't have the attitude to change, nobody around you can make you change, and she doesn't want to change, so.
Do you discuss that with your mother?
Yes, me and my mom do talk about it.
You have my sympathy.
Thank you.
You really have my sympathy. I don't know what you're going to do with her. You know, when they're little, you can, deal with them better. You'd put them in a corner and you'd say, time out. And here's a good crack in your head, too. But she's too big for that.
Just gotta wait for her to move out. 18's coming.
What's with you, my dear? Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? Why are you so hell-bent on destroying your life?
I'm not trying to destroy my life.
But you are.
I'm not.
You are. Your mother can't wait for you to turn 18 so that you get out of the house because you're making the rest of the family miserable. Is anybody at home abusing you?
No, ma'am.
Well, then I don't understand why you're so miserable.
Well,
you were involved in a very serious crime. You did absolutely the wrong thing. If a 13-year-old person, who's not an infant, sees a dog get hit in the street, they call an ambulance. They don't walk home and just, relax. Get stabbed 5 times by somebody who had a weapon, and you were able just to go home and sleep and get it. It's not important.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
You were supposed to get help for somebody that needed it because you were involved. You want to know why you were involved? Because if you and these other people hadn't gone with Shelley to the park, Shelley wouldn't have gone to the park. Shelley took strength in the fact that her friends were with her. You're all accomplices. Yes, you were. But for the fact that you all gave Shelley support, Shelley would not have had the courage to go to the park alone and stab her with a knife. She may have done it on another day, but she wouldn't have done it on your watch. That's why you're responsible. And then from a humane perspective, How could you just walk away and leave someone to bleed to death on the street? Now, I want you to continue to tell me what problems you've had with Miss Attitude over here.
It was like when I was going to Brenda's house.
Tell me what happened.
And I was going to my street so I could catch the bus back up to my house to get my clothes to go over to hers. And it was like in an intersection, and we were stopped at the light, and then Heather and like the people that were with me at the park or whatever were with her, and she walked in front of the bus and she was just calling me names and stuff, and I was getting off at that stop, so I pulled the thing and then I got off the bus or whatever. They all turned around, and then I just went in the corner store, and when I came back out, they weren't out there.
Why do you have any contact with her at all?
I just flipped her off.
Why?
Because she didn't like me, so I didn't want to like her.
Just a second. Between the time she was stabbed and last November, why did you have any negative contact with her at all?
I shouldn't have, but that was the only time that I said anything to her.
Why did you say anything to her?
I don't know. I was being stupid. But I have papers here that she wrote me. She wrote me first, before that day. She wrote me.
I'd like to see him.
I wrote her back, and then she wrote me again.
Yeah, she's saying to you, and she uses terrible, terrible language. You have to learn how to, use your words. Find some other language other than four-letter words to express yourself. Stay in school. But she's really saying to you here, why don't you leave me alone? Don't you have anything else to do? Now, what you do say is, I am loyal to my friends, so I'm going to stick by Shelley 100%. I don't like having beef with people, but Shelley was my best friend, and I honestly don't even know why the whole fight started, but you should not have gotten stabbed. But like I said, she is my homie, so I'm going to stick by her. What you're telling me, Mary, is that your conversation with her was stupid?
Pretty much. I shouldn't have called her, and I do apologize for that. I realize that she is the victim in the stabbing, and if I had any control over my sister, she wouldn't have been there.
Good girl. Sit down. Want to stand up, Miss Wilson? Next to your daughter? I'm going to tell you a story. Many years ago, when I was a family court judge, there was a young girl who was going to Fashion Institute of Technology, and she was on the subway by herself. And a group of girls, 5 of them, had nothing to do that day. So they got on the subway, and this girl, whose name was Marisol, was wearing big hoop earrings. This case was probably 20 years ago, but I remember it so distinctly because one of the girls said to her friends, "Run those earrings," which means steal the earrings. And they encircled her, and one girl grabbed her by the hair, another girl ripped off the earrings, and the third girl stabbed her to death. She was 17 years old. And they got the stabber, and the stabber was tried for murder and convicted. You got that look on your face that I'd like to wipe off. Don't put it back on your face. I was sitting in family court at the time, and it was my job to try the other girls who were juveniles, and I convicted them all of murder, even the ones that didn't stab her, because but for the fact that they acted as a pack and they surrounded her and they were there giving her support, that girl would not have had the guts to take her on one-on-one. And I tell you now that that conviction was held up on appeal. So you are very lucky that nobody arrested you. You're very lucky that they didn't charge you, because if you were in my ballpark, you would be spending some time with Shelley. Meanwhile, it's going to cost you and your family $5,000, because that's what she's suing for, and that's what she's going to get. And I certainly hope that your mother gets you some help. Otherwise, you're going to be a miserable person your whole life. That's all. Thank you.
It's number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Cochran versus Marsh. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Cochran, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had dated for a period of time. You became ill and were hospitalized for a period of 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
When was that, sir?
August 30th.
It is your claim, sir, that Miss Marsh, during the time you were hospitalized, took your bank card and withdrew some $1,700 from your bank card without your permission.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you started to complain to her about taking the money after you were released from the hospital, you then claimed she filed false stalking charges against you. You were arrested. You were forced to wear a bracelet, an ankle bracelet monitor. which you had to pay for.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in total, you are suing her for some $3,000 because you say that these charges were false.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's start with the hospitalization. What were you hospitalized for, Mr. Cochran?
My doctor said I was under a lot of stress from working a lot. I took a vacation to get away, but it didn't do no good.
So it was a psychiatric hospitalization?
It was behavioral medicine.
Were you self-admitted or did someone admit you?
They took me by ambulance.
From where?
From McDonald's, where the defendant works.
What happened? Did anything happen in McDonald's?
I felt kind of hot and felt like I was going to faint, and they said I fainted in front of the counter.
But there wasn't a scene or anything there?
No.
Now, how did you get custody of his bank card?
When Paul was admitted to the hospital, he had bills that needed to be paid. His father brought the bills to him at the hospital. He told me to come up. He needed me to take care of his finances. Paul, myself, and the psych tech had to go to security for Paul to release the bank card, the bank number, and details as to what I was supposed to do for him. Yes, Your Honor, I did withdraw the money, which I have proof of, to pay his bills. I have the bills that I paid for Mr. Cochran.
Can I see them, please?
These are the withdrawals. These are most of the bills that I could gather up. That's about like $900 and some worth. And I also have the bill where he said he loaned me $300, that I deposit $300 into its account.
Are you saying you paid $300 of your own bills out of his money?
Yes, I did.
You have a letter indicating that it was with his permission that you paid $300 worth of your bills?
No, I don't have a letter.
Then you can't pay $300 of your bills using his money.
Okay.
Ms. Marsh, because if Paul is there for a psychiatric hospitalization,
okay,
you don't do anything with regard to your problems. You only deal with his problems if you're being a friend.
I did that, and I replaced the $300.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is what I was...
Okay.
There's it right here.
When did you replace the $300?
On 9/5/01.
What did he buy on his Zales account? A jewelry store?
He had bought a ring for me. He had bought like a necklace for me.
Did you buy gifts for her?
Yes, Your Honor, but I paid cash for him before we went on vacation to Orlando. There was only one bill that was paid while I was in the hospital, and that was $209.
Capital One bank credit card, $30, $83. Sprint cell phone?
That was her cell phone, Your Honor.
How do I know these are his bills?
Well, because we both had buddy phone bills. I have those.
You paid Sprint $125, and then you have another money order receipt that you paid Sprint $83.15.
For the 2 cell phones.
Well, why were you paying your bill from his account?
Because that's what he told me to do, Your Honor. He said...
No.
Because the phones were in his name.
No. But he's not using them. You had one phone. Who's doctor? A dentist?
I had to have a tooth extracted, and $70, yeah.
So why are you giving me this bill as a bill that you paid for him?
That was one that shouldn't have been in there, but okay.
So I got a Sprint bill that shouldn't have been in there? I got a jewelry store bill?
That's part of the loan, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Can I see how much money was taken out of your account?
It was showing there what was deposited and what was withdrawn the same day, the $300.
All right, now, Miss Marsh, when he got out of the hospital, what happened?
Paul wanted to continue dating, and I told him, I said, Paul, too much is going on. I just don't think it's going to work out between the two of us. And that's when Mr. Cochran started stalking, and...
He didn't say anything to you about the money that was taken out of his account?
No, ma'am, he never said anything about the money. This issue came up after the breakup.
Your Honor?
Yes.
The day I got home, I received a bank statement showing the withdrawals, and I called her and asked her why she withdrew the money from my account without my consent.
And what did she say?
And she hung up on me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Cochran Jr. says ex-girlfriend Odella Marsh stole money from his bank account while he was in the hospital. Paul says when he was released, Odella had him falsely arrested for stalking.
Now I want to hear about this bracelet. Why did you have to wear a bracelet, sir?
I went to the police station on the case on the bank account.
Okay.
I was arrested in the police department on a warrant by the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department in our town to say that I was stalking her, intimidating her, and invasion of privacy.
Were you doing that?
No, ma'am, I was not.
How was he doing that, Miss Marsh?
Mr. Cochran was phoning my house. He was creating problems on my job to where they fired him out from off of my job. And he came up to the job one day, just radical. He had, that day he had the gun with him. And I left, and I have witness, I went to the police department, and I just was filing.
Do you have the papers from the criminal court which ordered you to wear the monitoring bracelet?
Yes, I do.
And the certificate of
I have
disposition?
everything.
I have
I'd like to see the papers, please.
Okay,
I
here's
got the arrest warrant and everything.
here's everything contrary. Okay?
His, hers.
Thank you. What happened when you appeared in court on July 15th, 2002?
When I appeared in court on that day, his case was dismissed because the last incident where I had to use the panic button, of which I had a device that I carried in my car every day, which was ordered by the court, and also had a panic button that I was to keep on my persons at all times. Mr. Cochran was out by the apartment building, and the machine didn't go off. That stunned me because it's supposed to pick him up.
Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
On July, they said that there was several false police reports on the incident, so the prosecutor and the judge dismissed it because of false police reports, and the prosecutor checked in on it, which the monitor will pick up if I come in with 500 feet. On the day that she hit the panic button, I was not in the area. Somebody else was driving my car at the time to see if there was a false police report being made. That's why the case was dismissed. There was an undercover police officer driving the car.
Your Honor, I have a witness that knows how Paul reacted during this time.
May I speak, ma'am?
Sure. Who are you?
I'm a coworker of hers.
Go ahead.
I was the one who called 911 when he had the seizure in the lobby. I was the one who barred him permanently from our store because he had come in to talk to her after he had gotten out of the hospital.
What happened when he would come into the store?
He would try to talk to Odella, and she did not want to speak to him, and she had told him that before, and I simply said, things are not going well. Please leave her alone. If you cannot behave like a gentleman, you can no longer come in here.
Did he not behave like a gentleman when he came in?
He was loud, and he stayed for hours, would not allow her to do her job.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have friends that went there, you know, older guys. I've been going to that place ever since the day it opened up, and I never, ever harassed or anything. I just...
No. Listen to me, sir.
Yeah.
You were asked not to go back.
I didn't go back after the day I left the hospital.
Yes, he
I
did.
never returned.
Yes, he did. I asked him not to come back, and a week later he came back again, and Odella was there, and he wanted to talk to her, and she did not want to speak to him, and that is when I permanently barred him from the store.
So he came back one other time?
He came back another time after that.
When was that?
A week to 2 weeks after that. The first thing I did was call Odella, and I said, he does not look right. He had the same look he had the morning that he passed out and had the seizure on my floor. Please be careful.
Did you ever see him with a gun?
No, I did not. But I am the one who encouraged her to get the restraining order, and I am the one who had her make copies of the receipts.
The copies of the receipts are...
Apparently they're not doing any good, but...
They're not doing any good because they're all not his bills. You're going to get the money back that was taken from your ATM because she can't establish to my satisfaction that she used that money for your benefit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You are not going to get back the money for having been forced to wear a bracelet because I believe this lady when she tells me that you were in her place of business when you were told that it's not a good idea for you to be there. And my sense is that you were frustrated. I don't know why, either because you still cared for the lady or because you were angry over the money or whatever reason, but that you didn't do the right thing, and she was afraid because you weren't exactly right. Are you on medication now?
No, Your Honor.
You're not?
No.
Are you under any psychiatric care right now?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran. In any event, I'm going to get back the money from your ATM card, but not for the electronic bracelet, because that was probably necessary. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was filing false police reports and trying to intimidate me, making me look bad and her look good.
He became just a maniac.
I hope people that see this realize what women can do to you. You know, they can clean you out.
Hopefully this is over. Paul will move on with his life and just leave me alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Norris versus Thorpe. Step forward, please.
Student Diane Norris is suing her estranged son-in-law, 24-year-old construction worker Travis Thorpe, for an unpaid loan for legal fees, travel expenses, and interest on the loan.
Miss Norris, the defendant used to date your daughter. Is that right?
They were married, Your Honor.
They were married.
Yes, ma'am.
When were they divorced?
They're not divorced yet.
So they're still married?
Yes, ma'am. Separated but married.
When did they separate?
In April of this year.
Do they have children?
No, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to the defendant for some bail and attorney's fees. And he's paid you back some, but hasn't paid you back all. You want your money?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of his offense? Do you know?
It was a technical violation. He hadn't paid his fees.
What kind of fees, sir?
Probation fees.
What had you been arrested for?
Burglary of a structure was my original charge.
And you bailed him out?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give him?
Altogether, it was $750 for his probation fees, $638 to get the attorney to get the bond set.
And what was your arrangement with him?
Travis agreed to pay me back when he got his income tax return. And they only got back about $300. So they paid me about $150 out of that. And then the following year, when they got another income tax return, they paid me about $300.
I will hear you.
Okay, first of all, when I was in jail, I didn't ask for the money. She gave it to my wife at the time, but I still felt I needed to pay it back. So I signed my income tax check over to her, which was $1,289.
Can I see it, please? Are you his wife?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your first name.
Jennifer?
Jennifer, when your husband was arrested, you called your mother, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You asked her for the bail money?
We went and got...
No, you asked her.
Yes.
And what did you tell your mother with regard to when she would get this money back?
I told her that we would pay her back as soon as we got our income tax.
You told her that?
Yes.
Not him. You told her that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I wanted to give the entire thing to my mom, and he was like, no, I can't do that, you know, and he had to spend, you know, $1,000 of it on drugs. So I made him give my mom $300 out of it.
What happened to your marriage?
He fell in love with another woman.
That make you angry?
Yes, it did.
Make your mother angry?
No, it didn't make my mother angry. She has no say in it. I mean, I did ask her for the money, yes. It was me that asked her for the money because he was in jail. But, I mean, the whole time he was on the phone, please get me out of jail. And I loved him, and I had to get him out of jail.
Just to say, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
He was talking to you.
He spoke with my mother a lot when he was in jail. He spoke with her and me.
He did. I went to jail to visit him, and he told me when I went to visit him that they would pay me back with the income tax refund.
Did you tell her that you would pay her back?
Yes, I did say I would pay her back, so I signed my income tax check over to her. I gave her that entire income tax check and paid about $600 on the bond. I paid all but $320 on the bond, and then all my probation fees.
The bond wasn't even $600. It was $500 to begin with. And we didn't have enough cash, so we put my mother's car titles up, her and her boyfriend's car titles up to get the bond, to get him out. Nobody ever paid the bond. It's still up. They're trying to take away my mom's car and stuff.
What do you mean it's still up?
Like, the bond still hasn't been fully paid. So they want to take away my mother's truck, her boyfriend's truck, and her car because he hasn't fully paid the bond.
Your Honor, that's what I've paid on the bond.
Yeah, but you still have a balance.
Of 320, yes, ma'am.
So why don't you pay it?
Well, I don't know if they put up their cards. I was in jail when all this happened.
What are you, an idiot?
Well, no, I didn't know that that's what they
You
had to do.
stopped paying on this, sir. You stopped paying on it in 2001.
Because I didn't have any money to pay the other $320.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself, or with my girlfriend.
But by yourself is not with your girlfriend. You got to tell the truth right away.
I live
You
with
don't
my girlfriend.
Do you work?
Yes,
What kind of work do you do?
a construction worker.
Good. If you do construction work, your girlfriend works, I assume?
Yes.
This is the girlfriend?
Yes.
Then you have money to pay the bond. What do you mean you have no money to pay the bond? What are you, a fool?
At that time, I didn't have the money to pay for it.
You have it now? What is wrong with you, sir? You have responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Your evidence cooked you goose. I almost believed you that you turned over your whole check to her. And then I see this piece of garbage where you give me a piece of paper that says that you had a responsibility to pay a bond, that you knew somebody else was obligated to pay, and that you pay $3, $5. You made one payment of 60 cents at one point.
I just had to pay something when I went in every week to report.
She could lose her property. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I don't believe there's any.
There's a lot wrong with you. He's a loser. He doesn't take care of his responsibilities. The attorney's fees, the bond, the fines, less the money he paid you, $1,108. Listen, it is your responsibility to take care of your debts.
Yes, ma'am.
You screw up, you're supposed to take care of it. Nobody else is supposed to take care of it. Do you understand?
Yes. And that's why...
Do you have a car?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Does she have a car?
Yes.
You put gas in her car?
Yes.
Do you put food in your mouth at least twice a day?
Yes.
Do you go to a bar occasionally, go out for dinner once in a while?
Yes.
You don't do anything until you take care of your responsibilities. That's what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you take care of other things. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Lucky you got out of this marriage before you had children with him.
Exactly.
Very good. Goodbye.
Your Honor, this is case number 220 on the calendar in the matter of Akins versus Jenkins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Akins, according to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together for about a year and a half.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. We lived together like for 6 months.
You were together for a year and a half.
Yes, Your Honor.
Of that year and a half relationship, 6 months was spent living together.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then things didn't work out, you broke up, and you said that you had an agreement with the defendant that she had owed you some money and you would owed her some money, and you decided to leave some of your things there and to forgive certain other things that she had damaged of yours, and she would forgive all the bills that you owed her. You just go your separate ways.
Yes, Your Honor.
But what Miss Jenkins did was she took you to small claims court.
That's correct.
For the bills that you owed her. And you claim she did that in violation of your agreement.
Yes, Your Honor.
So now you want her to pay for the things that you claim she owes you for.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right? And I've read your answer, Miss Jenkins, and I know I'm paraphrasing. This is not really what you said, but it's pretty much what you said. You said, grow up.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much.
So, Mr. Jenkins, let's start with the things that you claim she owes you.
All right. First of all, Your Honor, the things I'm suing for is the TV that I purchased from Miss Jenkins when we first got together. And,
Okay, TV.
Yes.
Now, when did you purchase the TV?
About 2 months into the relationship, Your Honor.
Before you were living together?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about how that came about.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, we was dating. And,
you were dating?
Yeah.
And one day you bought a TV?
No, I bought it for her because she was in financial need. She didn't have a TV in her apartment. And so, me being her friend and boyfriend, I looked out for her and got her a television set.
As a gift?
No, as a loan. She promised to pay me back the money for the television set.
When did you buy her the television set?
December of 2000.
Around Christmas time?
No, I think after Christmas, about close to the New Year, Your Honor. This wasn't a Christmas gift.
Did she go shopping for it with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the TV.
It's a Panasonic 27-inch.
Was there an agreement to pay him back for the TV?
No, ma'am. He bought it for me because he bought it because I didn't have a television. A couple of friends had let me borrow a television, but he said that he would get me a television, and it was before Christmas. It was December 2000, before Christmas.
Okay. Now, from December of 2000, Mr. Akins, until the time you broke up, which was when?
Beginning of May, Your Honor.
Long time. Did she make any payments on this loan for the television?
She gave me $50. after that initially. And then she also had other expenses, like she used to get her car towed all the time.
No, you're not paying attention to me. Don't try to get ahead of me. Mr. Akins, do you think that you think that I'm going to forget my question?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
You know, I'm not that old, sir. Did she make regular payments to you after December of 2000?
Yes, Your Honor, she gave me $50, Your Honor.
When?
She gave me about 2 months afterwards.
Is that right?
No, I didn't give
Get
you
out of
money
here.
for
You
the
don't even
television.
remember. What did you have for lunch yesterday?
Your Honor, she did make the payment. She gave me a payment on the television.
Good.
set.
She made a $50 payment 2 months after that.
Yes.
And what about the rest of the money?
And it never came up again, Your
Never
Honor.
came up again, and then you moved in together.
Then we moved in together,
And did you
Your Honor.
both watch the 27-inch Panasonic?
No, well, that TV was in her bedroom, Your Honor. Later on, she bought me a television set, and then after we broke up, she wanted me to pay her back for the television set. So as we was leaving, as we was breaking up, I said, well, why would I pay you back? I bought you a television set for $400, and you never gave me a dime for it. We had an agreement during that time that everything was split even.
You are just going to continue to go your way, and I'm telling you that I control my space.
I understand.
So I have questions. When I finish with my questions, if I need any more information, I'll ask you, Mr. Akins.
I understand, Your Honor.
So that's one thing that you're suing for, the TV.
Yes.
Right? That was purchased before you moved in together.
Yes, Your Honor.
What else?
A mixer and a crock
mixer.
pot.
Tell me about the mixer.
The mixer I bought at Best Buy for the defendant, for our household goods, because we was together. So I bought it for the household. And the crock pot for her, Your Honor, because she wanted it.
A mixer.
A mixer, a $200 mixer.
$200 mixer. What about the crock pot?
Crock pot was like $50. I have prices right here from Best Buy.
I don't want the price from Best Buy. I want your paid bills.
Well, I don't have the bills, Your Honor. They were left at her house, at her residence right now.
I have the receipts. I have the receipts.
Whose name are they? His?
No, my name. My credit card name is on the receipts.
Let me see.
The bills weren't paid in the credit card. It was paid through me, through my employee discount for the crock pot and the mixer. She didn't purchase the crock pot and the mixer.
Ma'am, we both work at Best Buy, so it was both of us have the same.
Power stand mixer was $39.60. Where do you get $200, sir?
The mixer is worth $200. The judge told me I have to come back. When I went to small claims court, she had to sue for the original price of the mixer.
Let me ask you a question, sir. If you want to go to small claims court and go before some person who told you that you're entitled to $200 if you're successful on something that you paid $30 for, I think you ought to go and find her. That doesn't happen here. Even if I found that you bought this thing and that you were entitled to it, you could go to you still work for Best Buy?
Yes.
Go there and spend another $30 and get another mixer. Why would I give you $200? You're just annoyed because she wanted judgment against you. That's why she said grow
no, Your
up.
Honor.
Me too.
I'm not annoyed because...
Then we have a crock pot, which you said was $50, which was $14.
14. I haven't seen these receipts.
Yes, ma'am.
$14.70.
I haven't seen these receipts.
He never seen a receipt because I purchased it.
Show him the receipts.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was no verbal agreement.
We lived together for 2 years, and you telling me we had verbal agreement. We were together.
Speak not!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elmer Aiken says ex-girlfriend Tiffany Jenkins owes for property she either stole or destroyed. Tiffany says Elmer needs to grow up.
What else do you claim she owes you for, Mr. Aiken?
On 2 occasions, the defendant came into my apartment before we lived together and destroyed my personal property.
Okay, just a second. I read that. You said that was sometime in October?
Yes.
And then you moved in together?
Yes.
Why did you move in together?
Well, she came to me with a sad story, talking about, oh, we had scheduled to move in together, this and this and that. Oh, I can't afford to move in together.
What's this and this and that?
I can't afford to move and get a place on my own. So I was like, okay, we can reconcile, we can get back together, and we can try to make this work.
Very good. Then you forgave her all the things that she allegedly broke when you had...
No, I didn't. We never talked about it, Your Honor.
You never talked about it?
That's what came at the end.
Why do you expect me to talk about something that happened 2 years ago
This is where I'm coming to, Your Honor. With
now,
the agreement at the
sir,
end.
Mr. Akins, don't try to talk over me. Now I've got the drill. You want the things that she allegedly broke, and then you want the mixer and the crock pot, receipts for which she has that are in her name, that all amount to maybe $40. Then you want a TV that you purchased for her before you were living together 2 years ago. Now, you're going to explain to me about your agreement.
And I also want for a rider bill. I moved in her stuff out of her old apartment into the new apartment, and I also pay people to move her. I have the rider bill right here, if you want to look at it, Your Honor.
I don't. It's not even in your complaint. It's not in your complaint.
Well, I have to take that up later.
You can't take that up later, Mr. Akins. I'm going to tell you why. Because you have one opportunity to file all claims that surround the same incident. You can't pick and choose and say, well, I'm going to sue her today for the mixer, tomorrow for the crock pot, the next day for the television, and then 2 weeks from now I'm going to sue her for the TV, because that is called harassment.
Well,
that's called harassment.
Well, Your Honor, she sued me.
Shh, listen to me. So, if you didn't include it in this claim, this rider bill, that claim is forever over. I want you to understand that. Now you can tell me why her suing you and what she sued you for caused you to file this lawsuit.
Well, at the end of the relationship, she said I owe her money for a television set that she purchased for me. During the time that we was living together, she moved in one of her best friends into our apartment. Her friend was supposed to pay me $400 for back rent. I said, we could do this. She won't have to pay me the $400 she verbally told me she was going to give me, and give it to you, and we'll be settled, and the whole thing will be over. After that agreement, she got with me, and I say, okay, I'll pay her back for the television set that she purchased for me just to get her out of my life. Later on, a week later, I get a summons that I'm getting sued for the same television set that I'm paying for, and the back rent, even though we had a verbal agreement from the inner relationship that the whole thing would be over, and that we each other would get on with our lives.
Was that clear as a bell to you?
I have no idea what this man is talking about.
I don't either.
It's all complicated, Your Honor. It's all complicated.
Oh, I know.
But all I know is we had a verbal agreement that bygones would be bygones.
It's like the Treaty of Versailles. Miss Jenkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything you want to say to me?
Okay, there was no verbal agreement after, when I went to camp.
Yeah, we lived together for 2 years, and you telling me we had no verbal agreement. Well, we lived together for 6 months. We were together.
Speak not! Listen to me. You bought the crock pot?
Yes, ma'am.
That's here. You bought the mixer?
Yes, ma'am.
That's here. I'm not interested in things that you may have broken before you moved in together. He forgave those things because I assume that after you moved in together, quiet! That after you moved in together, you did share a bedroom, did you not?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did share a bed, did you not?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? If somebody gets angry because you broke their best Baccarat crystal, then you don't share a bed together and get up in the morning and say, you're going to pay me for that glass tomorrow, remember. That doesn't usually happen, so forget about that. Now, as far as the television is concerned, I don't find that that was a loan.
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
But I'm just curious. He says there was another television set purchased. Who purchased it?
He purchased the television with my credit card. I came from out of town, and he had a sale auction at his store, and he went and bought the television for me. The television was, I was on.
You're talking about 2 years ago?
No, ma'am. The new television.
Okay.
He bought it with my credit card. I sent him to the store with my credit card to get it because I had drove 7 hours that day. I went to Cancun. When I came back, the television was gone. I asked him why he didn't take the television he paid for and leave.
That's not true, Your Honor. That's not true.
Shh. Just a second.
When I came back from Cancun, he was gone.
Oh, just a second. So he took the TV?
Yes, ma'am.
He took the TV that was purchased on your credit card that you are still paying for?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jenkins, I have a relatively good short-term memory. When we started this case, I said that Ms. Jenkins, in her answer, seems to be saying, why doesn't he just grow up and get on with his life?
Well, Your Honor,
I think that's a very good idea.
Well, Your
the case
Honor,
is dismissed. Grow up, get on with it.
These are excused. You may step out.
Don't sit there and drag somebody to court just because you have a grudge.
I looked out for her, but she screwed me in the end.
Just trying to be evil, that's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bullock versus Haithcox. Step forward, please.
Nurse Karen Bullock is suing her ex-boyfriend, Ralph Haithcox, for having her falsely arrested and for the return of her belongings. Ralph says during an argument, Karen hit him with a Big Mac.
Miss Bullock, how long were you and the defendant in a relationship?
Ralph and I were in a relationship for 9 years.
According to your complaint, the defendant had you falsely arrested on domestic violence charges and you were forced to spend some 30 days in jail. You want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you say that when he unceremoniously told you to get your stuff and get out, he kept some of your personal property and you want it back, or the value of that property. That's what your lawsuit is about, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Haithcox, is that your name?
Yes.
Says that you got arrested because you deserve to get arrested. You spent time in jail because you deserve to spend time in jail, and that he has none of your property. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
When was this incident that caused you to be arrested?
It was in March of this year. I served 30 days in jail.
Well, tell me about it. What happened?
Ralph and, like I said, Ralph and I have been together for 9 years. I walked in and caught him in the bed with another woman.
Look at me, please. Don't
the
look
cops was called and I was arrested. I was told it was a violation of a restraining order. And I appeared in front of the judge.
Just a second. When you came home, something must have happened if the police were called.
Actually, nothing. I told him, I said that, I told him, I said, oh, I done caught you in a lie. You told me it was over between him and his woman. Actually, him and I had problems.
Just a second. He called the police. You want to tell me, sir, what happened when she caught you?
I was home alone. There was no one there with me, and she came in with an attitude about something.
That's not true.
We started having a debate, and the next thing I know, she had a Big Mac, and she took and slammed it in my face.
A Big Mac sandwich?
Yes.
That's not true.
Okay.
And instead of going off and hitting her, I called the police, and she left and went to one of my neighbor's house to try to hide, but they put a warrant out for her, and about a week later they came to the house and picked her up.
Has there been incidents of violence between the two of you before?
Yes.
Tell me when.
Oh, the relationship was just full of violence and nonsense. We'd broken up maybe a half a dozen times before, and it's just time to stay away from each other. That's what I want her to do.
Okay. Now, what I read in the complaint was, Ms. Bullock, it appears to me that there was a restraining order that was in existence at the time Mr. Haithcox called the police and had you arrested for this hamburger incident. When was that restraining order issued?
Had to be a few years ago, but I didn't know that it was still in effect. To my knowledge,
but it was still in effect.
Evidently, it was.
So he had a protective order.
Right.
So you served 30 days for violating that protective order.
That's what I found out it was.
Now, did you plead guilty to violating the protective order?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Do you have any of the criminal court papers, please?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. I don't think you understand. Thanks.
Oh, I have something else here, too.
Well, this was issued in February, and this protective order says that you are to refrain from doing anything to him and to refrain from entering the family dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
You pled guilty? You pled guilty to violating the restraining order?
That's what they got me on, for violating the restraining order.
You pled guilty and served 30 days.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Then you can't sue him for falsely having you arrested.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Now, what personal property do you say you still have in the defendant's house?
I have receipts and stuff, documented stuff that I had.
Like what? Give me an example.
A television. I have antiques in there, lamps, dishes, blow dryer, curling iron, mirror, handmade mirror.
Go ahead, sir. Do you have any of her stuff?
Yes, some of those things are there, but I've called her and tried to make arrangements with her so she could come and pick up her property.
Okay.
And she said, well, I'm going to settle it in court and don't call here anymore.
Fine. So, this is what you ought to do. I want you to pack up her property. Pack it up neatly. Don't damage anything, because you want this lady to leave you alone. Correct? What relative do you have? You live in New Britain, Connecticut?
I have a brother.
Do you get along with her brother?
Yeah.
Good. 5 days from today, your brother, in the company of a police officer, will go to the house. He will give your brother your property. Do you understand? He says he has some of your property, and he doesn't look like a nut, so that he doesn't want you to come around anymore. So whatever you have that belongs to her, or you think even marginally belongs to her, be smart. Pack up, get ready for her brother to pick up. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. 5 days. That's all. Thank you very much.
This case number 322 on the calendar in the matter of Newens versus Newens. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Newens, when were you and the defendant married?
We were married in June of 1997. Or, excuse me, 1987.
And when were you divorced?
August of 1996.
Do you have children?
We have 4 children.
From 1987 till 1996, in what state did you reside?
From 1987 to 1996, we resided in California and in Wisconsin.
When did you reside in Wisconsin?
From 1992 to the beginning of 1994.
I ask you this because the timeline here is quite important.
Yes.
According to your complaint, after your divorce, you and your former wife were arrested here in California. And you were arrested on outstanding warrants from the state of Wisconsin for welfare fraud. According to you, there was an agreement between you and your former wife that if you paid whatever fines there were in Wisconsin, which amounted to $4,800, she would give you credit for $2,400 towards what you owed her in child support.
Correct.
Now you've been summoned to court, and you've been told by the judge that you have to pay those arrears, which are probably more substantial than $2,400.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said to her, what about the agreement we had, that you would give me credit for half of that? And she said, we don't have an agreement. So you want $2,400, which is her half of what you paid to the state of Wisconsin in order to get rid of all the charges pending against both of you.
Correct.
You were in the state of California when you were arrested, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Who told you that if you paid this $4,800, you wouldn't have to go back to Wisconsin to surrender yourself?
The district attorney of Outagamie County, Wisconsin.
Now, tell me what the welfare fraud was about from 1992 to 1994.
I believe it's for food stamps and medical aid.
How come there was fraud, sir?
I believe there was fraud because we left the state as we were on welfare to move back to California without notifying the welfare department that we were moving.
You were on welfare in Wisconsin.
We were not collecting money, Your Honor. We were collecting food stamps and we were collecting medical.
Benefits. You were collecting welfare benefits.
Yes.
Is that because you were unemployed?
I was unemployed at the time.
Who were you living with?
Nancy and I were renting a house.
Who paid for the rent on the house if you were unemployed?
We paid for the rent on the house.
How?
Because I got a job at installing garage doors. I wasn't employed the whole time. And it wasn't a sufficient amount of money to support the family. That's why we went for aid.
So your wife stayed at home with the children?
She did.
So you're telling me that they sued you for fraud for $4,800 because you left the state and they didn't have to pay you money anymore?
We basically left the state, and instead of tracking us down and figuring out that they wanted all of their benefits back, which totaled the $4,880.
Probably the only person in creation that I know that happens to. Usually they say, wow, they're out there with California's problem now. Now, Mr. Newens, how much do you owe in child support, sir?
$10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony.
How come you haven't paid any money?
Well, I've actually paid a lot of money, Your Honor. The reason being is because in the state of California, your ex-wife or whoever's receiving the support can go back at any time and ask for an audit of the payments, which she did. And I had a court order for my employers to pay her directly, which they did, but I had to prove it, and these two employers were no longer in business, so I could not find the record of payments.
So you're telling me that the judgment was entered against you and you have to pay arrears on $20,000 for money that you paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer representing you this time?
No, ma'am. But the litigation went for a whole year. Ma'am, I can't afford a lawyer. I work 60 hours a week to support 4 kids. My ex-wife, since the day we married, has not worked at all and still doesn't to this day. She solely relies on my support to support all 4 kids.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Newens. Now we're going to come to you. He says that you were receiving partial benefits. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea why you were charged with welfare fraud?
It was explained to me when, without notifying the county about our moving, there was a warrant automatically slapped on because there was an outstanding amount that needed to be paid back, like $700 some odd.
For what?
for overpayment is what they called it.
So you were notified that you will receive an overpayment of $700 while you were
Yes.
living in Wisconsin?
Yes.
And you left without paying that amount?
Yes. They were charging us interest and stuff because of penalties on that.
Now, your former husband says that he paid you this money, this $10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony. Is that true, that he's paid you this money?
I have, Your Honor, from the month, some partial payments, and for the last month of October, I received...
Look at me. Now you can speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. $29.90 for the month of October, $500 for the month of September, and before that, nothing. Payments are coming, and they partial payments, whole payments, every now and then, off and on through the last couple of years.
Did they come right out of his check?
He's self-employed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong.
And later today,
we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Ms. Harris said.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Todd Newen says ex-wife Nancy Newens owes for an unpaid loan for bail after they both were arrested for welfare fraud. Nancy says Todd doesn't pay his child support.
How long have you been self-employed, Mr. Newens?
Roughly 3 years.
So when you say that your employer, what employer are you talking about that you couldn't find?
The court order dates back to 1997. The amount in arrears they're asking for was for 97 and 98.
Just those 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so this proceeding had nothing to do with current arrears for the year 2000, 2001, 2002. Is that what you're telling me?
What they, I have a court order here that I got from them. What they dated it from 6 of 97 to 10/1 of 02 to make it current.
I asked you a question. The question I asked you was whether you were telling me that the arrears that they were talking about, that you just had a trial on, dealt with monies that you owed. You said from 97 and 98.
Correct.
And I said that they conducted a whole hearing for a year and didn't bring that amount up to the current date for arrears, and you said, oh, I have the order. And the order says that those were arrears that you owe from 97 to the year 02.
The reason why they did that, Your Honor, is because we were fighting for the last year in court over the amount of arrears. And it was my burden to prove that all my previous employers paid.
All right, forget the previous employees from 97 to 98. She says she has been receiving sporadic payments. Is that true? And now you're self-employed.
Yes, it is true.
Sometimes it's true. All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I'm going to get to it, Mr. Newens. Don't pussyfoot around me. Are you remarried?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have children with your new wife?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's start with August of 2002. How much money did you send to your former wife for child support and alimony in August of 2002?
Your Honor, I don't have that information with me, and the reason why I don't have that information with me is because it's quite irrelevant, because I have an order that you have before you stating the amount I have to pay in arrears of $200 per month.
That's perfect. So what are you bothering me for?
I'm asking for money owed that I can't, that I paid $4,880 for, that I can't get credit through the County of San Bernardino for child support, which had she not agreed to credit me half, I would have never made the payment. We would have flew back to Wisconsin and fought this battle in court.
So then I'm going to resolve it very quickly for you, sir.
Okay.
From 1992 to 1994, according to you, you had 2 young children, and your former wife was unemployed. She was taking care of the children. It was therefore your responsibility, your contractual responsibility with your former wife, to be the provider. You found that you could not be a provider for your wife and your 2 young children, so you were forced to apply to the state for certain benefits. Then you were advised that there was an overpayment of $700. Rather than taking care of that part of your financial responsibility before you left the state of Wisconsin, you decided to leave the state of Wisconsin and move to California. It was because of that that they issued a warrant for the both of you. You paid that amount. That's not for child support. That's not for spousal support. That's to reimburse the state for money that the state expended on behalf of you and your family because you could not fulfill your end of the contractual marital responsibility with your former wife. And in addition to that, you have continued to accrue arrears over the years The last 3 years, when you've been self-employed, sometimes you pay, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you send a little, sometimes you send a lot. That doesn't excuse you from working at some point. Are you working now?
Yes, I am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
Right now I do child care. And in the past I was doing dental assisting.
Well, I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy.
Exactly.
And if it's not child care, because child care sometimes is a temporary thing that you do when your children are very little, because that's a way to take care of your responsibility as a stay-at-home parent and also make some extra money. But I'm going to strongly urge you to find a career that you like, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong for your support. You both have to support these children. You both made them now. You're not living together. You're not married. You both have to support them. But she certainly isn't going to give you back $2,400 for money that you owe the state of Wisconsin, sir. Your complaint's dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nancy's been on a free ride for many years, refusing to work.
Should be said and done.
Were romantically involved for a relatively short period of time. How long?
About 4 months.
And you say that when the relationship ended, he began stalking you?
He stayed outside of my apartment for 5 hours, and I called the cops at 4.5 hours.
Your Honor, it's absolutely not true.
Just a second. As a result of that, you say you have to move, you want him to pay all your moving expenses, your first and last month's rent, and the cost of changing your locks, all totaling, $3,100. That includes the week that you have to take off from work to go look for an apartment. That's what you want, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You, on the other hand, sir, are countersuing for all the money that you say that you
I've
loaned to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
During the course of this brief 4-month relationship. You're going to tell me about what loans these were, and you seem to acknowledge on the countersuit that you owe him some money. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You're going to tell me about that. So first, let's get to your claim.
Okay.
You met, you began to date, you dated for 4 months, something happened. Tell me what happened, and then what happened as a result of the breakup.
Okay, during the relationship, he was very jealous and calculating at times. He would constantly
Your Honor,
pick business
that's not true. I want to clarify.
Mr. Spector, I'm going to get to you.
Thank you.
He would pick business cards up off my table and make sure, read them and ask where I was at all times and who I was seeing and what I was doing and that sort of thing. And then at about the 3-month point, he read through my journal and told me that if I intended to destroy him, he would destroy me. And on June 15th, he made the threat that the two of us can no longer live at the same time, therefore one of us has to die.
Honor,
I do not feel...
Mr. Spector, Mr. Spector.
I do not feel safe living at the same residence that he has visited me several times.
Well, was it in June that you decided to break off this relationship?
Yes.
Anything particular happen at that time?
He took me to Napa Valley for my birthday on June 14th. We fought the whole time. He was, he told me at lunch on June 14th that he only had 65% of me. He wanted 100%. And I knew at that point that the relationship was definitely going in a direction. I had just gotten out of a very serious relationship, a marriage. And I told him many times that I did not have it to give to him. I wanted to take things slow and that I wanted things open such that if I wanted to see somebody else, I would let him know. I would give him that courtesy. I wanted the same courtesy from him. And I didn't have 100% to commit to him at that time.
So then you had this argument and broke up?
Yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Mr. Spector, you keep saying that's not true, and I keep telling you that I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me your version of the events, but you keep interrupting. That's not a smart thing for you to do, because it makes you sound a little bit nutty, especially since I've told you twice not to do it.
I apologize.
Good. Now, why do you think he should pay for you to move?
I need to move, and it's due to his harassment.
Tell me about his harassment.
His harassment is the 2 threats that he's made on my life.
Well, you told me about those 2 threats. The 2 of you can't live together on the same planet.
At the same time, therefore one of us has to die.
Okay. Well, maybe he's talking about himself.
I asked him if he intended on committing suicide. He said he didn't do suicide. He had
he had connections and people that could take care of things.
Go ahead.
And I don't feel safe at where I'm living now.
Tell me about his harassment.
He's made 2 threats in my life and says that somebody else can take care of me.
Okay. Now, what's the $600 that you say that you owe him?
During the relationship, he paid for things like when we went out to eat and shopping and such like that. He, at one time, he helped me pay for a down payment on insurance, and he also gave me $250 for my deposit for rent. So that's $350 and $250, so $600.
Just a minute. Ms. Flowers, didn't you realize that once you took money from him, you were encouraging him?
No.
You didn't realize that?
No.
Well, you should have.
A gift.
Well, you should have. Once you accept gifts and things from someone, and in this case, not only gifts and things, because you said he bought you things, but cash, you are solidifying a relationship. That's not smart. All right, Mr. Spector. To your version.
Your Honor, I have never realized that when I started the relationship it was going to end this way. I met Bonnie in January. I met her in the nightclub. She's a blackjack dealer.
I don't care where you met her. You met her in January.
I met her in January.
Look at me. Don't look at your paper.
We
right
enjoyed
here.
each other's company tremendously.
You dated?
We dated. I have, we've been always in consent with each other. About 3 weeks into the relationship, I asked her to take a trip to Vegas with me. During that time, we enjoyed each other's company. She asked me to take her to one of the stores in Caesar's Palace, where she wanted to pick out some clothes for herself. We have done that, and at that time, she said that she liked the clothes, but she didn't have money to pay for the clothes. So I said I can put it in my card, and if she likes it, she can pay me back later when she has a chance. She said, that's fine. I have the bills right here.
Mr. Spector, are you telling me that you took her shopping and you told her at this time we were sharing a room together at Caesar's Palace?
Yes, we were.
Are you trying to tell me that when you took her shopping, you said, are you going to pay me back?
I did not take her shopping, Your Honor. She said she liked something in the store that she stopped by previously. She asked me to accompany her to the store.
So you went with her
So I accompanied her to the store. Yes, Your Honor.
So you're telling me that you told her that this was just a loan of the money?
I offered her to pay for the clothes because she seemed that she really liked the clothes, but she was upset that she couldn't get them. I said, if you like, I could pay for the clothes.
That I believe. Mr. Spector, do you understand, sir? That I believe.
Okay, Your Honor.
I don't believe the last part of it, which was, and you'll pay me back.
Well, Your Honor, let's put it this way, I'm a reasonable guy. We were about 3 weeks into the relationship. I'm not just going to take some girl, take her out shopping for a couple $1,000s and say, yeah. I mean, I don't do it on every day-to-day life. Yes, I did enjoy her company, but I would not just take her shopping. I'm not a millionaire.
This is a good lesson for everybody. Let me understand this, Mr. Spector.
I am a generous person, yes.
You took her to Las Vegas.
Yes.
You shared a room together.
Yes, we did.
Look at my eyes, sir. You felt close enough to her to share a bed together.
Yes.
But you weren't going to buy her a dress, because that, you wouldn't just buy any casual acquaintance a dress. Is that what you're telling me?
That is not true, Your Honor.
Is that what you're telling me?
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
How unchivalrous
I have
of him.
bought her things on many occasions.
I'm talking about this.
That particular occasion was alone. I've bought her things before and after that
Mr.
as well.
Spector, you're not following what I'm saying to you,
I'm
sir.
trying,
Maybe
Your
it's a
Honor.
male thing.
I don't think so, Your Honor.
What you're saying to me is you felt close enough to be intimate with Miss Flowers on your trip to Las Vegas.
That's right.
But certainly, according to you, you wouldn't buy a dress for just a casual person.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's your corporate card?
Yes.
You paid for her underwear on your corporate card?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bonnie Flowers says her former boyfriend, Gene Spector, should pay her moving costs because she was driven out of her home by his threats.
What monies do you say she owes you, sir?
I'm saying she owes me about 20...
For what?
Okay, I have canceled checks here for the insurance.
All right, she
for-
says she owes you for the insurance.
That's right.
$350. And can I see the date? Can I see those checks, please?
Absolutely, Your Honor. By the way, the rent check is dated June 1st. That's after she's saying I told her I'm going to kill her or whatever.
No, destroy.
No, it's not. By the way, what kind of work do you do?
I do a lot of different things. I'm a makeup artist, blackjack dealer, that kind of thing.
Because the reason I'm asking is
We're
part of the
forgetting to mention she's
expenses.
an exotic dancer as
Just
well.
a second. Is my mouth moving, Mr. Spector?
I apologize, Your Honor.
Keep apologizing. There's an interesting line somebody once told me. I think it goes something like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Did you ever hear that line? Sure. Right. The reason I'm asking that question is because you say that you want $1,000 also from him to look for a new apartment because that's how much time it would take away from your work.
About a week and a half to move and to look for an apartment.
Okay. All right, sir. I'm back to you. We're back to you with regard to the money she owes you.
I've not claiming numerous expenses that I incurred during the relationship with her because it was out of my goodwill and I really loved the girl. I thought everything was going great between us. We're not talking about the rental expenses, how much time I wasted looking for an apartment, renting a truck, driving a
Good.
truck.
What are we? Don't tell me what we're not looking for. What are we looking for?
What we are looking for, I would really like to get an explanation what is inside her head. I would really love to know. I still care for the girl. I have never made no attempts or threats towards her life. I would never harm her in any way, shape, or form. I have not contacted her for about a month. I was trying to forget about the whole thing when I was served with a restraining order. That is really confusing to me. What is she trying to do? I've not made any attempts to call her. I was out for about a week. I was on vacation. She's an exotic dancer. She gives her phone number to so many people. Her phone rings day and night. I have never controlled her in any way, shape, or form. We had an agreement. She wants to see somebody. That is up to her.
Have you ever been arrested, Mr. Spector?
No, I have not.
Ever?
For traffic violations? For traffic violations, yes.
What kind of traffic violation?
Speeding.
Arrested?
Well,
for speeding?
Not arrested.
But stop. No, I'm talking about being arrested.
Well, I had a warrant for a speeding ticket that I forgot to pay, and yes, I have been
arrested
in jail.
for that?
I have been arrested for that, yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a financial consultant, and I have an indoor air quality company, as well as appliance company.
Have you ever been married?
No.
You're not going to bother her, are you?
I wasn't for 2 months now.
That is so inaccurate.
Her restraining order is a...
Just a second. He says he hasn't bothered you in 2 months.
Her restraining order is a way to prevent me from getting my money.
When did you get a restraining order?
June 23rd.
Since your restraining order, after he was served with your restraining order.
After he was served with the restraining order.
Have you had any contact with him at all?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
The person that served him the papers went to his workplace, served him the papers, and got back in the car with me. We drove down the street, turned around, came back up. The defendant, I went down the wrong street. Turned around, came back up the street. The defendant came head on toward my car, blocked me in the road, got out of the car, and came right beside my window.
And said what?
I did not roll down the window. I barely got by his car and the other car beside me, and I swerved around and then I left.
That was the day he was served with the paper?
Yes, sir.
Have you had any contact with him since?
No.
Okay. Mr. Spector.
Am I allowed to say something? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. What you described partially is true. Her friend have come to my office and served me with some papers. I took a look at them when I saw it was a court date. They are actually on a date when I was supposed to go on vacation, so I had to reschedule all the plans. I got pretty upset because she knew exactly when I was going on vacation.
No.
I didn't know what it was. Since I have not talked to her since she called the police, I don't know for what reason, I still have no explanation. In my mind, I would like to believe that what she was doing was not gold digging from me. I really believe that she had some feelings for me. I would really wanted to know what feelings. And up to this date, I have no explanation. That was the only reason I went out of my office when I saw she was outside.
Listen to me.
Yes.
She don't like you anymore.
That's fine. I would like
Just
to
a
hear
second.
that.
Do you like
I
him
would
any-
like
just-
to hear that.
You want to hear it?
Yes,
Tell
please.
him.
He threatened my life. I don't want anything to do with
That
it.
had never happened. That's a lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Spector,
Yes.
if that's a lie, trust me, sir, this is the truth. She don't like you anymore.
Great.
Understand?
That's fine.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said that one of us has to die, and he will either do it himself or have somebody else do it.
Why aren't you dead yet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gene Spector, a financial consultant, says his ex-girlfriend Bonnie Flowers owes him for money he loaned her when they were together. Bonnie says she left to escape his threats.
She owes you $600 that she acknowledges. What other money do you say she owes you, sir?
Here are all the receipts, Your Honor. This is a receipt for the shopping that she said she will pay me back.
No.
And this is a receipt for...
Don't say anything till I ask you.
This is a receipt for... She asked me to accompany her to Victoria's Secret because she had a gift certificate from her mother that she wanted to redeem there. When we got there, she picked out a lot of lingerie. When we got to the counter, the gift certificate wasn't enough. She didn't have any money with her. I said, what do you want to do? She said, can you pay for it? I'll pay you later. I said, fine. That's my corporate card.
No.
I didn't even pay for it myself.
That's your corporate card?
Yes, Your Honor.
You paid for her underwear on your corporate card? You expect the government?
I wanted to get a record.
What?
Okay, I am very good with records. I didn't want to pay cash. I wanted to get a record because I felt something was wrong already at that time. I didn't know what. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Did he buy some things for you at Victoria's Secrets?
Yes, he did. He told me several times that he wanted to take me there, and I did have a gift certificate. He said that he wanted to get a bathrobe for me, and we did not find a bathrobe, so we picked out other things together.
Let me tell you, I still have a problem with you, Miss Flowers, and let me tell you what the problem is, madam. When we started this case, you told me that you had some problems with him. You had problems with him practically from the beginning, but certainly by May, June, at the end, he had become controlling. He had gone through your purse, he had gone through your cards, he had read your journal, and all those other things. And on June 1st, you let him go buy underwear for you in Victoria's Secrets.
I liked him a great deal.
Well, if you liked him, then if you want to move, you do it on your dime. Do you understand?
I understand.
Because I'm not giving you any money to move. You're not supposed to encourage somebody and let them spend a lot of money on gifts, presents, whatever else it is, while all the time in the back of your mind you're saying, this relationship is going nowhere because he's too controlling. This relationship is going nowhere because he's too suspicious. This relationship is going nowhere because he's too jealous. If that's the case, you're supposed to do a decent thing and not let him spend any money on you, which suggests to him that your relationship is going somewhere. That's just something that comes under the category of not nice about that. So you feel as if you want to move? Move. Yourself. You owe him $600.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Now, sir, you listen to me. I don't believe for 1 minute that you took this lady to Caesar's Palace and she ran up a $2,000 bill and you expected her to pay you back. I find...
Your Honor,
Listen,
you were incorrect.
listen.
It was $1,300 for the clothes.
$1,300
We're not talking about the bill for the room and everything else. That amounted to, I don't want to say what. That was never asked of her. That was me.
Mr. Spector?
Yes, Your Honor.
Write it off to a good lesson, sir.
Oh, I am. I've done it.
Perfect. She owes you the $600. She says it was $600. It really comes out to $551, doesn't it? Let me make sure.
No, actually,
no, it comes out to $601. $601. So in any event, the judgment in this case is for the defendant in the amount of $601.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And the plaintiff's case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, ma'am. I'll be back foot to your right, please. No, I'll walk you out.
You can walk me out.
On the next Judge Judy.
what she claims is ridiculous. She had mental problems before that she was taken to the hospital by her mother when she was a teenager. She's a compulsive liar. That was the problem.
He said that one of us has to die and he will either do it himself or have somebody else do it.
Why aren't you dead yet?
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Cox, this is your uncle.
Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Joe's wife.
Your grandmother, your mother, passed away.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your grandmother, with whom you enjoyed a lovely relationship, promised you
Her vehicle, of whichever it may be, when she passed away, which is a 91 Thunderbird.
When did she make this promise to you?
This was, she had an 88 Thunderbird, I think it was 88 or 89, which my other aunt had received, and at the time I just turned 16, and she promised me then the white Thunderbird, which went to my aunt who also has children and needed a vehicle. So she always promised me that she would leave me her car.
You must have had a hot grandmother. She liked Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
So she passed away recently. According to your complaint, the only signed will makes no mention of that bequest.
No. It was also done in '77.
Could I bring up something, Your Honor?
You, sir, are the executor of the estate.
Yes, according to the signed will, yes.
And is there another will, sir?
Yes. This is a will that we received from a attorney that said that from the discussion I had with my sister, Deborah, which is Wendy's mother, that he had told her that...
Just, you can't tell me all these things. This is all hearsay. You received another will.
Yes.
That is unsigned.
That's the will.
Okay, and this was executed in 1992.
Yes.
All right, so let me understand this. We have a 1977 will which makes no mention, that is signed.
Yes.
And makes no mention of this car bequest. Then you have a 1992 will, which according to the plaintiff does discuss the car.
Yes.
Let me just take a look at it. Mr. Taglavor, were you satisfied that your mother had, in fact, in 1992, had a change of heart, despite the fact that you didn't sign this will?
Yes, I didn't know it. Yes.
Could you sit down, please? Just sit down. The answer is yes. Evidently there was some dispute that your mother had with somebody else, and she, in fact, changed her will.
Yes.
But did not sign it.
As far as I know.
As far as you know, didn't sign it.
Right.
Is there anything that you know about that I haven't said yet?
Yes.
Go ahead.
In the hospital when my grandmother was dying, my husband, my mother, my uncle Bill, and her other son, and my mother, the executor on the second will, she was telling us that her phone book, bank receipts, her will, stuff for her funeral, everything was in her briefcase. We found everything except for her will, which then in her phone book, in 2 different spots, it is noted, Opendahl, the one that drew up the second will, is her attorney has her will. That's how they found him. This is her phone book.
It says in that, attorney has will.
Has will.
Fine.
And I also have a letter from the attorney saying that he was the one that drew it up, and no, she never signed it, that it was her right to be able to take her copy with her, and it was up to her.
Ms. Cox, so then what I'm saying is accurate. Let's put this in order. We have a signed 1977 will, which you acknowledge does not make any bequest of this car to you. Were you born in 1977?
I was born in '76.
Okay, so you were a year old. She wouldn't have left you a car.
No.
Later, you both agree that your mother and your grandmother had the intention of changing her will to leave you the car but she never fully executed the will, which means she did not have it signed and witnessed. That's according to you, madam, because you just told me that in her papers, in her book, it says attorney has the will. And if this is the will that you got from the attorney, it is unsigned, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
So here we have the problem.
This is a copy of the will from 1977.
I'll take a look at it. Mr. Taglavore,
That's where
listen
I
to
got
me.
the address.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you were very honest with me a moment ago. I assume that you love your mother and you know in your heart that she may have not been good at executing this 1992 will, but that was her intention, that your niece have this car.
My mother spoke to me in '96 in November.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter also. She called me in Kentucky, was calling me, and I brought up my will, she brought up her will. Nothing was ever mentioned. She said, I have 6 kids, if there should be anything left, we divided equally. Nothing was ever mentioned once. Wendy didn't know, none of us kids knew that this other will existed. Mom never mentioned to not a one of us.
Fine, but it does exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't care if I lost the car or not. It was
Come
a
on,
simple.
Wendy, come
you don't
on.
know. You do not know.
I know.
Joy.
You
no,
put
you
us
do not
through
know.
hell.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox says her grandmother promised she could have her Ford Thunderbird after she died. But Wendy's uncle, Joseph Tagliavore, claims his mother's will says all of her possessions are to be divided between him and his siblings.
How much property did your mother leave?
The automobile was it, basically.
If you went to sell, sir, a 1991 Thunderbird, how much do you think you could get for it?
5,000, maybe.
Maybe.
6, maybe. Depending on what kind of shape it was in.
Okay, well, what kind of shape is it in?
It's in very good shape.
Okay,
Low
so let's
mileage.
say, and there are 5 kids?
6.
6 kids. So let's make it easy for this old judge, because I'm not real good in math, as Bird can tell you. So let's say you can sell the car for $6,000. So everybody gets $1,000, right?
Right.
The laws in every jurisdiction require a will to be executed in a certain fashion. So we're talking here about a situation where the law, Ms. Cox, in this and practically every jurisdiction in this country requires that a will and any subsequent change of the will be signed and witnessed. Correct? On the other hand, we're talking about whatever is morally right with regard to this car. I believe that you two people know that it was your mother's intention for her granddaughter to have this car. For whatever reason. I'm sure she has a lot of other grandchildren, but that's what she intended, for this car to go to this grandchild.
Well,
We're not talking about a lot of money here, Mr. Taglavore. We're talking about at most $6,000 or $1,000 per person who would tend to inherit the money. So maybe we can come up with some way of being fair to your mother's wishes and also being fair to you, consistent with this will, which is unsigned.
Your Honor, I also
What?
have a letter from that attorney.
So what? I don't need the attorney. They don't dispute that. Ms. Cox, relax.
Okay, but
Relax. They don't dispute
no,
that
I was just wondering if that would be. I know it's not signed. I'm just wondering if he
No,
can't
I
be a
don't read
witness,
letters
can
from
he?
attorneys. If you want a witness here, you have to have a witness here.
Okay.
What I started to say to you is perhaps we can come up with something that is fair, reasonably fair to each side. Would it be fair for Miss Cox to have use of this car until she decides to sell it, and when she decides to sell it, the proceeds of the sale of that car are distributed among the 6 of you? So that in some way, the last wishes of your mother would be honored. Would that be reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, I'm telling you, sir.
You don't understand the whole story, I don't believe.
Well, I'll listen to the whole story.
This started years ago when my mother first told me. She told me, you make sure that you take care of your brother James, which is on that will.
In 1977.
Long before then.
But
if anything happened to her, she said, you make sure that he gets his share of whatever is left because he will not take care of it himself. The money would mean a lot to him. It doesn't mean anything to me. My sister, nobody else in the family, you know, $1,000, like you say, is not much money.
So what's James's problem?
He's like one step from homeless, pretty much.
Is there something physically wrong with him, or does he have an alcohol or a drug problem?
No, he's partially disabled. He lives on state aid and stuff like that.
So he has money from Social Security disability.
Right. Which is not much.
I understand that.
$1,000 to him is a lot of money. And this is a promise I made to my mother. And then when this thing all started, as far as I was concerned, I thought my sister was supposed to be executor of this will, and this was all taken care of. She comes after my mother passes away. All the children come to my house. They say, we want you to take care of this. I told Mom in 1995 I wanted to be taken off as executor of the will. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. This was all news to me. So I agreed to do it. Then we started searching and finding stuff. Now this has turned into a total nightmare, and I'm the bad guy when the only thing I say there that is legally binding is that I have to do what the signed will says to do. Now this is all the argument. This is all the bull that I have got from my family.
Sure, because
for doing what I was told to do by the law and asked to do by my siblings.
Well, you're right, Mr. Taglavor. You, unfortunately, are placed in that responsibility because it's not just you, but you have 5 siblings that you have to deal with, too.
Right, and my sister Paula says there's another will that leaves her the car. An orthographic will that she cannot find witnesses to. There's wills floating all over this place. But
listen,
none of them are signed
there are a lot of
except
wills,
for
but no
one.
property.
Right.
You know, a lot of wills, but one old
And there's
Thunderbird.
nothing but a car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I did not want to sue him.
Sure you did, Wendy.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
You don't
Yes,
know
you
me,
did.
Joy. You do not know me. This was the man I thought was my grandfather,
I've seen your
okay?
action.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox is suing her uncle, Joseph Tagliavore, over her grandmother's will.
So I would assume that you cannot speak for your whole family.
Oh, no,
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. What do you want to say?
It's funny that Mother never said anything to anybody, not even to Wendy or Debbie. Nothing was said till after the funeral. I mean, she didn't say anything.
No. Just a second. Who didn't say anything?
Wendy didn't say nothing. Debbie didn't say nothing. Mom never said nothing.
Listen
She
to
wanted
me,
Wendy to have the car.
Listen to me, madam.
And I talked to her.
Listen to me.
Okay. I guess it doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
It doesn't. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter.
It upsets me.
Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. Very often when somebody is ill, or even before they're ill, when they are distributing their property by way of a will, and they don't want to create bad feeling while they're alive, they don't want one child to be angry with them or another child or a grandchild to be angry with them, they won't discuss what they're leaving in their will because they figure, when I'm dead, it don't make any difference. So they will not tell their children. Do you have children? Mm-hmm. You have children. Would you have felt badly when you spoke to your mother if your mother said to you, I'm leaving Wendy my only possession, my car? You would have been annoyed with your mother.
I wouldn't.
Sure you would have. And your kids and your children would have been annoyed. Why is Grandma just leaving? Is she the favorite? Why is Grandma just leaving Wendy the car and I don't get anything? Does that sound possible to you?
Well, if it's her, yes, possible, but if it was her wishes. Mom wasn't shy.
You don't, it's not a question of being shy. No. It's a question of not having your kids or your grandchildren annoyed with you while you're here to experience the feeling. Mm-hmm. Once you're gone, you're gone. Miss Cox, you understand you have a problem.
Yeah.
And your problem is that even under the common law, which forms the basis of every law of every jurisdiction, a last will and testament was required to have some sort of a writing, at least signed by the, what we call them, the testator or the testatrix. That means the deceased. The only signed will that exists here that I see is one that was made in 1977. It doesn't make any mention of a car to you. Your uncle is not a bad guy. If he did anything else with this car, but do what it says to do in the original will, which is dispose of all my property equally among my children, he could be sued by the other siblings for a violation of his duties as executor of the will.
Thank you.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. I can't permit that to happen. My sense is he would like to do the right thing. But unless all of the siblings together say, you can turn the car over to Wendy because that's what Mom wanted, he can't do that. Do you understand? What I think is too bad is that if all the siblings understand that this was Mom's request, and all we're talking about really is $1,000 that you were concerned about for James, because that would mean a lot to him, well, maybe Wendy here would say, I'll give James $1,000, give me the car.
My mother, the executor on the second will, which my uncle is not even in.
There's no second will.
No, but
Wendy,
I know. Okay,
there's
I'm
no
just saying.
second will.
All right, but my mom did agree to do that. My mom was willing to give my Uncle James $1,000 to make sure he was taken care of, because she loves her brother. It has nothing to do with the Thunderbird.
This is a very good lesson to everybody.
This is ridiculous.
It's a very good lesson to everybody. None of us feel that tomorrow is our last day, so we all tend to put off taking care of business, which keeps things orderly and organized in our lives and prevents this kind of thing happening to a family. Usually when these kinds of things happen within a family, when somebody dies, you're talking about a lot of money. It's absolutely outrageous to me that this is doing this to a family when you're talking about a car, which is the only asset that your mother had. So people who don't take care of their business by keeping abreast of what property they have and how they want to dispose of it and making clear dispositions of that property before they die are not doing their families a favor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Morally, Wendy, I believe that you are correct that your grandmother wanted you to have this car. Legally, you cannot establish that to me. Moreover, I honestly believe, after speaking to your uncle, that if he had his druthers, he would give you this car. If it was a question of, listen, either the car is mine or it's Wendy's, he would say, you can have the car. He is not in that position. He stands in what we call a fiduciary relationship to his other siblings. He represents them. Unless there is a unity of spirit in that, among those 6 siblings, unless all of them say, give Wendy the car, despite the fact that that's not what your signed will says, he can be sued by them, and it ends up costing him $5,000 or $6,000, probably more with attorney's fees, because he'd have to hire an attorney to defend himself, and you would maybe get the car. So don't blame him. It's not his fault. It's really, unfortunately, your grandmother's fault, because she did not take care of business when she could have in 1992 by signing this will and having a fully executed copy. So this lawsuit is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. And out the back door to your right, please.
On the next Judge Judy.
I didn't care if I lost the car or not. It was
Come
a
on,
simple.
Wendy, come
you don't
on.
know. You do not know,
I
Joy.
know. You
no,
put
you
us
do not
through
know.
hell.
Sauter versus Visner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Ms. Sauter, according to your papers, you met the defendant in April of
Correct.
1995.
95.
Began dating in May of the same year.
Correct.
And by the middle or the end of the summer, you had loaned him about $1,500.
Thereabouts. Probably more than that, but that's what I'm alleging at this point.
Why?
Well, I met Brian, and we really had a lot of mutual interest together in regards to softball and such. And
you met him at a softball game, according to your papers.
Yeah, we played co-rec softball together. Co-rec, men, women. Okay, half-half. All right. And during Memorial Weekend, in fact, we even went down to Chicago for the weekend and had a great time. Came back, and Brian really, truly, I knew was going through a lot of hard times. He had gone through several jobs, different changes in jobs. Brian has 2 children, great boys, and he was in arrears in regards to child support and is trying to get his feet back on the ground. And I truly believed at that point he was trying hard to get his feet back on the ground in regards to a new job.
But why did you give him money?
Because with his initiative, and I saw his motivation in regards to his job, that possibly, I mean, he promised to pay it back.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was, when I originally met her, I was working for my father in construction. And
that sounds as if it could be a long-term proposition. What happened?
well, we got slow, so I went on to started a maintenance company to do some work, and times were hard, but I never asked for anything.
You took?
No, I never asked for anything from
No,
her.
I didn't say asked. I said, but you took.
She offered, I took.
Okay. Tell me what you gave him.
Originally, he was asking for little amounts of money, you know, here or there. Hey, 20 bucks, 40 bucks, I'll get it back to the end of the week. Not a problem. I don't even have recollection of that.
Okay.
Okay. The first time really that he asked for a significant amount of money was the end of June. And in fact, I wrote a check out to him, which I have, for $350.
What was that for?
He needed money to pay his July rent in bills.
Is that right, sir?
No.
What do you mean no? It's made out to you.
She gave me cash. She wrote out a check, I cashed it, and I didn't use it for, I never said anything about rent or anything like that.
Well, what'd you use it for?
Just going out, doing stuff.
What else?
I mean, he didn't even have money to go to work, okay? Yeah. So I didn't want that to happen, okay? Because for him, for his kids, you know, my good heart that I wanted to help him.
And you thought you had a future together.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right. You know, and things were going good.
Okay.
You know, that I thought, that I knew.
Your Honor.
And so at that point, I extended out an Amico credit card to him. And I said, here, Brian, now listen, anything that you use, it's your responsibility. Okay, we're going to get through the tough times, but here's the card. I'm keeping track, you keep track, and let's go with it. Mm-hmm. He went with it. He went all out on it.
You mean you had the Amico company put a credit card in his name?
He was an authorized signer on my account.
Oh, okay.
Which ended real quick.
Not quick enough, according to your complaint.
Correct.
How much did he charge up on your credit card?
$700 on the credit card.
Yeah, okay. According to your complaint, there came a time when you told him, hey, Brian, give me back the credit card.
Right.
I'm ripping it up.
Correct.
Cutting it in half. You're not entitled to it anymore. Don't use it anymore.
Right.
When was that?
I threw an extravagant birthday party for him. Just a gala event. Blackjack tables, kegs of beer, decorations, food, okay? We were having a good time, you know, people were having a great time.
So what happened?
All of a sudden, I looked, he's gone. He left. He left his own party. Left his van there, okay? And went with a bunch of his friends and took off.
Okay,
Didn't hear from him.
So you got angry, and that's when the romance was over?
Correct. That was it. That was the final straw.
All right. When did you get your credit card back?
The next day, I called Amico, and I said, no more. All right? I called him, and I said, Brian, no more. And
but did he continue to charge on your credit card after that?
He continued to charge after I found that Amico received a phone call, and he continued to authorize service on my card after he got my Social Security number.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Did you continue to use the card after she told you not to?
I went up to the pump to use it, and it was done. and I couldn't
Sir.
use it anymore, and then I threw it away.
Sir, listen to
There
me.
was never a call
Hey,
from.
listen.
Yes.
I asked you a simple question. After she told you not to use the card anymore, which was after your birthday party in July of '95?
Correct.
You continued to use the card.
From what I recollect is that it was not right after my birthday. It was it had to be 3 weeks to a month later.
Had you been dating each other during that 3 or 4 week period?
She had got me into a golf tournament.
After your birthday?
After my birthday.
Can I see the amicable bills,
Yes.
please?
They start from 7/21 on.
And my birthday's 7/18.
Sir, you used this card until the end of December.
That's when I got a call that it was done. That's when she called me to tell me it was done. It wasn't in July
even
or
according
August.
to you, sir, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks after your birthday party in July. That would bring us up into August. You used her card big time. September, October, November, December. That's outrageous.
2-3
Why
times
did you
a
do?
day.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Well, it was wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Friday night softball games, I'd go into my bag after softball was done, and there'd be $200-300 in there, in an envelope.
And later
Well,
today,
now you'll know better. You don't move in with somebody unless you love them, unless you're prepared to have aggravation.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. After Mary Sauter met Brian Visner playing softball, he borrowed money and used her credit card. They split. Now she wants the money back.
Why do you think you don't owe her this money? So far, we're up to $1,050.
Why don't I think I owe her the money? It's because she had done things through this whole relationship. The trip to Chicago was just I came home from work on a Saturday, and she called that Saturday afternoon and said, "You want to go to Chicago? I'm buying. Let's go have some fun." I said, "Well,
Fine.
you know."
Wait, I haven't even talked about Chicago. I'm talking about the $350 she gave you for rent.
I have no clue what that was for. I mean, I don't think it was for rent. I really don't.
I don't care if you bought $350 worth of bubble gum with it. The idea is she gave you the money. What you did with it is your business. I'm
Right.
sure she didn't give you this check because you said, I want to buy bubble gum. She gave you this check because you said you were in dire straits for money.
I was really never in dire straits for money. I was always working. I always had money.
All right. I'm up to $1,050, madam.
Yes.
Do you have any other checks that you say
Yes,
that
I
you
did.
can prove? Debt?
Yes. This is the other check that I have this is for cash. And he went to the bank with me because he didn't have a bank account, and I got straight cash for him.
Do you remember that, sir?
No. No, I don't.
Remember what this was for?
Cash.
I mean, but what did he need the money for in June? June 8th?
Probably like what he did on the amicable card, cigarettes and whatever else he had. I mean, you know, if he says he's having money on his own, I have no idea. He went up to the, you know, I like to gamble too, but he's out to Mystic Lake, a gambling facility, when he doesn't even have money. He's probably using my money to gamble with.
Well, the memo on this, sir, is clearly, it says, for you for cash.
I make all notes on
I'm
my
sure
checks.
it does. She probably wrote it out, cashed it, got the cash, and put that on there. That's fine. I don't remember receiving a check for that or
You
any
didn't get a
cash
check
for that.
for it, cash. You mean to tell me you have no memory of getting cash from her?
Not for that. No.
For what?
For any. I mean, I do remember getting cash from her at other times.
Like how much?
Friday night softball games. I'd go into my bag after softball was done, and there'd be $200-300 in there, in an envelope. I never asked for it, and then she'd put her name on there. Yes, this is for me. So I'd take it. I'd spend it. I don't say what I did was right. It was wrong. But
I've been a judge for a long time. What always strikes me as being interesting, for want of a better word, is that there are usually more women standing in your place and usually more men standing in his place than there are vice versa. When are women going to wise up?
I have.
When are women going to wise up? You don't know somebody 4 weeks and then give them money.
I have. I mean, I've been guilty of it for all my whole life. I was a good heart.
Your
That
Honor.
was it, and I've learned.
You ought to stop.
Well, believe
Your
me, I have
Honor.
a fiance now that gives me money, and we have everything together.
Your Honor.
What?
I'm not the first person that she's done this to. There's 3 or 4 other guys before me that she's done the same thing
You mean
for.
been very generous with?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this
Very
question.
generous.
So when did you find that out?
After I started seeing Mary.
In what? You mean in May?
Well, maybe a few weeks after that.
Few weeks
after the trip.
All right.
After the trip to Chicago.
Talking. Few weeks after that, I want you to tell me how it came about that you found out that she had been generous with men friends before.
Other guys on the softball team that we played on.
And I usually don't accept hearsay, but the conversation was you going out with Mary and she's pretty generous with her money?
The conversation was, what did you do last week? And I said, Mary took me to Chicago. Well, she
Yeah.
likes to do that for the guys that she's seeing. She likes to spend money on them and treat them nice.
How lovely.
Your Honor?
Don't say anything else.
Okay.
Don't say anything else with the exception of learning the words, almost like a mantra. I'm sorry I don't lend money to people that I know for such a short time.
Guilty.
Right. Guilty. Guilty. You owe her $1,500. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She said a lot of things. I took advantage of her, and I don't disagree with that. That's what Mary does for a living. She sues people.
And now the next case.
Parties on Magid versus Miller. Step forward, please.
27-year-old Sandy Magid is suing her roommate, John Miller, claiming he was violent and verbally abusive.
How long did you know each other before you decided to room together?
10 years.
Why did you decide to room together?
Because we were friends and he needed to move out of his place because he had a dog, and I moved out of my parents' house.
You weren't romantically involved, you were just friends.
Right.
Now, under this rather bizarre arrangement, reading the complaint, you were supposed to perform certain maid services in the house, like keeping the house nice and clean, doing the cleaning, the cooking, the washing, and he would pay all of the expenses with the exception of your phone bill. Is that the idea?
And the rent. I paid rent.
And you paid the rent, but he would pay everything else.
Yeah, but that only lasted for 2 months. And then we talked about it, and it wasn't working, so we each decided to
After 8 months.
take care of our own thing.
I paid all the bills for 8 months.
But, he wouldn't clean up after himself if he left something. He'd just leave the sauce on a table. He wouldn't do normal maintenance. He'd give his dog a shower and have hair all over the place and water all over the floor. I mean, he didn't even pick up after himself.
It's not true.
Right! And I got one of those home.
Yeah.
And I pay half the rent.
Yeah.
Miss Magid, I don't like cleaning up after my husband, and I love him. You made an arrangement to clean up after this man, and after a while, you didn't even like him. Not too smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Could I talk about the pain and suffering?
No.
Okay,
You don't,
and
sir,
then
you don't look like you're in pain, and you don't look like you're suffering
mental
anymore.
anguish. If I
Mental
told you
anguish.
what she
Oh.
put me through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Magid is suing her former roommate, John Miller, for verbal abuse and destruction of property. John is countersuing for mental anguish.
It's always smart for women to pay their own way.
But we had...
Listen to me, if you pay your own way, then you don't have to take anybody's guff. Right, Bert?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so he didn't clean up after himself.
And I cleaned for about 2 months, and then I paid the other half of the bills.
It was only the utility bills. I would pay all the utility bills if she would do the cleaning, because I paid Sandy in my last apartment $50 to clean the place.
And I
And she
did.
did a great cleaning job. That's why I thought I'd work out this deal with her. The place would stay clean and I would pay all the bills.
Well, staying clean is one thing, but you know, you can't be.
No, I
but she
wasn't
says you were
overdoing it.
being
No,
a
she would
slob.
never clean. Nothing.
Huh?
That's
She
not
never
true.
cleaned a thing.
All right, so you should have moved out after 2 months. You should have gone your own separate ways after 2
Yeah,
months.
well, we were
Would
friends
you-
for 10 years.
Would you mind telling me what you're suing each other for? You have a suit, you have a
Yeah.
counter suit. You want to tell me what you're suing him for?
I'm suing for my print and my frame here because he threw something at it and broke it.
Can I see it?
Yes.
He admits that he threw something at it and broke it, right?
Yeah.
Why were you mad at her
Well,
picture?
that was the last straw. That was when I had paid all the bills and done the cleaning. Her dog had chewed up my sofa. And then I gave her all the money to pay the bills, and she went on vacation with the money, and I got disconnect notices. I had to pay the bills again. When I called her up and told her, she says, what do I care if they were turned off? I'm moving out anyways. A moment later, when I hung up the phone, that's when I smashed the picture.
All right, so
she
you
was
smashed
moving
the
out.
picture, but that's just the glass on the picture,
That's
madam.
right.
No, it's also that there's scratches on the print.
Would you
and
show
the-
me where, please?
Right there. And right here, it devalued the thing, and right, it messed up the mat.
Well, the mat
and the frame is all scratched.
Just a second. How much did you pay for that?
For the frame and the picture.
For everything.
$920.
$920?
Yeah.
Where did you buy that?
At the Wing Gallery.
Do you like this picture, sir?
Yeah.
Give it to him.
Yeah, he can have it.
All right.
All right. What else are you suing him for?
All right.
I'm
Here's
also
a couple
suing
bucks for it.
for
I feel like I'm running a tag sale here.
the last month and a half of rent because I wasn't there, because he
Oh,
was
my fault.
throwing
Just a
things and
second.
being angry.
Just a second. Did you leave?
Yes.
You don't get that. What's next?
I had to pay for the last months of rent, and I wasn't even staying there.
But you left. I mean, you agreed to rent this apartment together, right? Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So you have a responsibility to pay until the end of your lease. So that you don't get.
It was
What else are you
month to
suing for?
month. Pain and suffering, because, I mean, he would just verbally abuse me, and...
You're not married to each other. If you're not getting along with your roommate, then
But,
you're
I
not
mean,
getting
you
along
know,
with
he'd
your roommate.
leave that place a mess constantly. I mean, it was just like I couldn't win.
Well, now you'll know better. You don't move in with somebody unless you love them, unless you're prepared to have aggravation.
But I couldn't stay there because I
You
was,
say you
I
couldn't
was
stay there.
afraid
You
to
don't
stay
like.
there.
You weren't getting along, madam. You weren't getting along. You knew each other for 10 years.
He
You
was
weren't getting along. You
throwing
moved out.
stuff and yelling.
Oh God! What are you suing her for, sir?
She was supposed to clean the house, which she didn't do. So I'm suing $640, which is half the utility bills, which I should get back.
Because you don't like the way she kept the house.
She didn't clean the place at all. I would do any
That's not
cleaning.
Good. That's why you're not together anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so
All
that's
right.
part of mine.
Just a second. What's the other part? Your pain
That-
and suffering. I saw your
yeah,
pain and suffering
that's
too. Everybody's got pain and
That's
suffering.
really
Bert.
a big part of my case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sir, you don't look like you're in pain, and you don't look like you're suffering
Mental
anymore.
anguish. If I
Mental
told you
anguish.
what she
Oh.
put me through, could I mention a few things?
Mention a few things.
Okay, let's put it this way. After she lost her job, she had a really bad mental breakdown. She went to counseling on Prozac. Next thing I know, every time I would take a shower, she'd run the hot water in the kitchen so I wouldn't have any hot water.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, just like you told me you used to lock your mother in the walk-in closet.
All right. Mr.
Okay.
Miller, is there
I have a
anything
lot
else
of
you
little
want?
things like that that are sad and ridiculous, you know.
Sounds like what married people do to each other.
Yeah.
Your countersuit is dismissed, sir. You just bought a picture for $920. Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff. Hang the picture, put a piece of glass. It's really very nice.
All right.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She didn't keep her end of the agreement. You know, I'm paying all the bills, and she's turned the place into a pigsty. She was continuing cleaning other people's homes. She said, I have to clean that person's home for $50. Then she wanted me to pay her to clean up her own mess.
I don't hate him. We just didn't get along as roommates.
Yeah, it sometimes happens when you live together, but it's sad after 10 years of friendship to come down to this.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir. Judge, this is number 191 on the calendar in the matter of Tracy versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Tracy, your complaint reads like a short novel, but let me see if I understand it. This used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
And then you broke up. Is that right?
Yes.
When you broke up with this gentleman, your name is Steve?
Yes, that's right.
You became involved with someone by the name of?
Greg Schwartz.
Greg. Then you moved in with Greg and that didn't work out, correct?
Correct.
Then you got back together with?
Steve.
Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And moved some of your furniture into his apartment.
Correct.
Pick it up from there.
I moved my furniture into his house because I needed a place to store it. Steve offered his house to store it with no problem. So I...
Well, just a second. You not only moved your furniture into the house, am I correct that you moved yourself into the house?
No, I did not.
Just your furniture?
Correct.
So you didn't stay at his house at all?
I did stay at his house, but not permanently. I used his house for storage of my furniture. I lived with my grandparents at their home.
Okay. So you weren't dating him at that point when you moved your furniture back into the house?
Yes, I did. Yes, we were.
So you were? You had renewed your relationship with him?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I moved my things into his house because he said it was okay. It was only a temporary situation until I decided to move back out again and take my things. And after spending a few months with him, we both realized that our relationship wasn't working out, and I broke it off with him. He became upset and angry and destroyed my furniture and belongings.
What furniture did he destroy, Tracy?
I have estimates and pictures.
Just tell me.
My couches, my bed, my VCR. I brought my VCR here for you to see. My comforter, my lamps. There's a garage door involved here, but that's later. My dining room table and my patio furniture. And...
Okay. Did you get any of your things back?
Yes, I recovered damaged property as well as what wasn't damaged.
What wasn't damaged?
My desk, and I would have to say that's about it.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Now, I read your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct, sir, that you do not deny destroying this furniture?
That's correct.
Okay, let's start with why you destroyed it.
Okay, the first thing why is because she did not call it off. What actually happened was I found out that she was doing something behind my back with the same gentleman that we moved the furniture out of his house.
So you found out, according to you, that the plaintiff, Miss Tracy, was seeing Mr. Schwartz again.
That's right.
And that made you?
Upset, angry. That happened in June of '97. It was found out on June 20th. I confronted her about it. She lied time and time again, even though I knew that I saw her car at his house. I left a note on her car. I'm sure she didn't bring that with her today.
So you found her car in front of his house. What were you doing in front of his house?
Driving by to work.
You didn't have to go out of your way in order to do
not
that?
at all.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I have to...
Just a second. I'll get back to you. So you left a note on her car?
Right.
Saying that caught you, something like that?
Basically.
All right. But that wasn't enough. Then you got very angry.
No, actually after that, I confronted her about it. After a couple days of lying to me, she finally admitted it. And then we were still talking with each other about it. I can't really say if we were together or not. And about a month after that, I was just upset one night and got sick of seeing the stuff that she gave me at my house. Had the dining room table in my dining area and got upset and just didn't want it anymore. And that's why I destroyed it. I did not want to see it anymore. I didn't want it in my house anymore. I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore.
Tell me how you destroyed it.
Some of the chairs that were broken were kind of already broken because they were, like, if you step on the chair or if you rest your foot on one of the wooden rests.
I mean, that you pick up the furniture and fling it and hit it? All right, so you destroyed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't just the dining room table and
It was
chairs.
a dining room table and chairs, a couch.
How did you destroy the couch?
Threw it off my balcony. Because it was up in my bedroom, because she gave me some of the furniture.
We'll get to the giving, because that's
Okay.
your defense to this action. You say she gave you all this furniture,
Right.
and therefore it was yours to destroy. Tell me how she gave you the furniture, Mr. Jackson.
In March, the middle of March of this year, 97, we were together. She came over to my house one day, found out that her ex-boyfriend was cheating on her.
This same Mr. Schwartz.
Found out he was cheating on her, got really mad, decided to go to his condo where she had her furniture, and I offered to help move the stuff out along with two of my roommates, who we all have trucks, so we decided to go over there. And one day we moved all the stuff out of the garage, out of the townhouse. And I asked her, where do you want to put this? She said, well, I don't even want this stuff. Why don't you want it? It reminds me of him. And I go, well, if you don't want it, then, you know, what are you going to do with it? She said, do you want to take it? I go, I don't want all this stuff. Had couches, a table, lamp, and some personal items, kitchenware and a mattress, Christmas ornaments. I go, I don't want all this stuff. But the stuff that I can use, fine, I'll take. Dining room table, a couple couches, a lamp, and that's it. Everything else went in my garage.
What about the VCR over there that's got a big dent in it?
That was not for me. I don't know how she can justify me doing that. She had the VCR. She had it in my house, but I did not touch her VCR.
You mean when you were destroying all the other stuff, you didn't just happen, one of the couches or the dining room table and chairs or something didn't plop itself on that VCR?
I didn't walk into the closet and look for a VCR just to destroy. She didn't have her stuff out in my house. She had
I
a certain
understand that.
couple
Somebody
things.
destroyed that.
I don't know who.
You were in a rage. Is that a fair statement,
That could
sir?
be a good statement, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He couldn't handle the fact that I didn't want to be with him anymore. He was drunk. And he was drunk. But, I mean, it's apparent that he has a drinking problem.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Jackson admits he flew into a rage when he found out his girlfriend, Kathy Tracy, was spending time with her ex-boyfriend. But he says the property he destroyed belonged to him, and Tracy has no grounds for this lawsuit.
Mr. Jackson, I find it difficult. She says that she just stored her stuff at your house while she was looking for another place. I don't think that you develop a sentimental attachment for furniture that reminds you of another boyfriend. That doesn't make sense. Common sense suggests to me that a couch is a couch. And a dining room table and chairs is a dining room table and chairs. And just because an old boyfriend ate off of it or sat on it doesn't mean that you don't want to look at it anymore, sir. Because if she was dating you again, she was still going to look at the furniture, right? If it was in your house. And she was going to be looking at the same furniture that Schwartz sat on and ate off of. So why would she say, I don't want to look at it anymore, and then put it in a place where she have to look at it every single day?
She said she didn't want it anymore.
You mean
said,
she
"I do not
didn't
want
want
this
to
stuff."
possess it anymore? But
I'm just telling you what she said. When we moved it into my house, she
Mr.
said, I do not
Jackson.
want this stuff.
Your Honor.
I
That
have
sounds
witnesses.
like nonsense. Yeah. Do I have any witnesses here?
Yes.
There are a
You do.
lot of people on either side, but important witnesses. I don't want any nonsense witnesses because it's a busy day.
Can I?
Yeah?
Yes. Good.
Step up here. State your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you have a last name.
Chris Delacroce.
Okay.
I helped him move out the furniture out of Schwartz's house.
Yes.
Okay. It was my understanding that she didn't want it because it reminded her.
I don't want to know what
Of
your
him.
understanding was. Your understanding is relevant to you. It's not particularly relevant to me. I want to know what you saw and heard.
I saw her furniture move into our house.
And what did you hear her say, if anything? Right here. Nothing.
Nothing right to me. No.
Good. Did you hear her say anything to anyone else?
No.
Good. Sit. You have any other important witnesses for me to hear, Steve?
No.
Perfect. Do you have any witnesses you wish to me to hear? Important ones.
Yes, I do. I have Steve's former roommate who lived in the house with him before my furniture was moved in there, while it was moved in there, and after it was destroyed, and I took what was remaining of it.
Step up here. State your name, please.
Vanessa Williams.
Miss Williams, did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Jackson about the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Means a yes or a no?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that conversation about the furniture?
The night after it happened.
The night after it was destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
And?
And
No. Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he say to you?
He said that he asked me that he said that he felt bad that he did this, and he asked me if he should reimburse her for this. And I told him whatever he wants to do. I didn't really want to get involved at the time.
Were you his girlfriend at the time?
No.
You just was staying there with him?
Platonic roommate. I rented a room from him.
So he asked you whether he should reimburse her?
Right.
Mr. Jackson, a couple of other questions I have for you. Why don't you sit down, Miss Williams? Thank you. Did you have any of your own stuff in the apartment?
My house?
Yeah, in your house.
Yes, I did.
To destroy your own stuff?
No.
So you had selective rage. Right?
That's correct.
Your selective rage, Mr. Jackson, is going to cost you. Can I have a list of items that
Yes, there's
that were
pictures,
destroyed? Thank you.
estimates.
Good.
And, Your Honor, I also wanted to state when I filed this complaint, I made it for $5,000, but I didn't exactly total it up. It doesn't quite come up to $5,000, and I put the price difference that I came up with.
Well, what is it?
$3,939.52, I believe.
Is that what all of these things cost you?
Actually, I took estimates only because the places where I bought this furniture either are not in business anymore, so I got the closest estimate to my furniture that I had.
Well, was this almost $4,000 more expensive or less expensive than what you actually paid for the furniture?
That is about the approximate price range of
Not
furniture.
price range. I want to know what you actually paid for the furniture.
To be exact?
Yeah, to be exact.
About
Because I have the bills here.
$3,200, but there's something else included into that I did not buy. That's the garage door that he broke.
Well, you didn't have a garage.
Where I was staying the night that he destroyed my furniture.
You mean at Schwartz's house?
Correct.
Let Schwartz sue him, unless you paid Schwartz for the garage door.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to pay for it.
No, you won't. You don't have to pay for it because he broke it. Let Schwartz sue him. How much was the garage door?
$620.
Okay, so we're down to $3,200. You just bought this furniture, looks like.
Well, it's on hold.
What do you mean it's on hold?
It's an estimate. They wouldn't.
Miss Tracy.
Yes?
How old was the furniture that was there?
Less than 2 years old, and it was brand new. I kept it in perfect condition. That furniture was, I cherished that. And I took very good care. It was immaculate. It was brand new. There was nothing wrong with anything.
All right, now let me take a look at this furniture, what it looks like. There are 2 sofas. Did you throw both sofas out?
No.
Where's the other
There was
one?
nothing wrong with the other sofa. She moved it out later on. There's nothing wrong with it.
Your Honor,
Was
he
there anything wrong with
urinated on it. He slashed it up, but he didn't throw it over his balcony because it was too big.
No, that is absolutely not true.
Let's not talk about slashing it. Did you do anything else to it?
No, that is not true. I did not urinate on her couch.
Well, that's
Did you let anybody else do it?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Tracy is in court with her ex-boyfriend, Steve Jackson, because she claims he destroyed her property in a jealous rage.
Mr. Jackson, you slash up her mattress?
No.
No?
I did not.
It's all slashed.
I didn't slash her mattress. What I did was destroyed the dining room table, the chairs, the lamp, and the couch.
That is not true.
Well, who destroyed this?
I don't know. She's had the furniture ever since July, the middle of July.
Well,
and then 1 month later, she comes in and...
Miss Tracy?
Yes.
When did you get the mattress back?
I got the mattress back when I moved all the furniture. The night was July 17th is when he destroyed all of my furniture at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right, okay.
I picked up my furniture that day, that afternoon. He let me come and recover the damaged property.
Are you telling me that you took out this damaged mattress?
Yes.
Why did you take out the damaged mattress?
To use it as evidence, because I was obviously going to take him to court over this.
Who helped move out the furniture?
I had 2 movers helping me.
Show this to him, please. Did you? Mr. Jackson, I want you to look at that very carefully, sir.
No, I did not do that. That's not my place. She's had the mattresses ever since the middle of July and not touched that. Now I can turn to the pictures of the couch and the table. Can I look through this?
The couch isn't in there.
I see a picture of a garage door opener.
I'm not interested in the garage door opener. That's
well,
another
I don't
lawsuit.
see how she can justify $3,200.
Just a second. I asked you about the mattress. Did you do that to the mattress?
No, I didn't. I did not touch her mattress.
This keeps getting better.
Who are you?
I'm Danielle Crockett.
How do you know her?
I've been her best friend for about 4 years.
Best friend, did you see the furniture when it came back to her house after she moved it out? Did you? Who are you?
I'm Nicole Halterman. Not that day. Actually, I had gone to Steve's house that night because I'm friends with his roommate, Vanessa. And I saw the furniture damaged.
Did you see the mattress?
Not the mattress, but everything else.
She had already taken the mattress out of the house.
She took the mattress and the couches, but she left the table because it was in too many pieces to take. The patio furniture was in too many pieces to take, and the lamps. I saw those in his backyard. Looked like they had been thrown over the balcony.
Okay, but the mattress she had taken, she didn't take any of the property that was destroyed, is that right?
Well, the table was in, like, toothpicks.
Just answer my question. Okay. She didn't take any of the property that was destroyed. She left all the badly damaged property there. Is that what you're saying to me?
She took, like, the VCR and the mattresses, all the other stuff that was destroyed.
Just a second. Did you see her take the mattress out?
No, because I was at work when she did that.
So you don't know whether the mattress was destroyed or not?
Well, Steve had admitted to me that he had destroyed it.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
That night when I was at his house, he said that he felt really bad that he did it.
Did what?
Destroyed the couches, the mattresses, the table.
He said the mattresses?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Well, he mentioned the mattresses, the table, he mentioned everything.
Okay. Good.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Jackson, when you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. Understand? I assume that that's the comforter. Is that what that's doing here?
Yes. Would you like to see
All
it?
right. I just assumed that that's what it
Your
was.
Honor.
Not part of the new decor in the courtroom. When you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. And your story is a lot of who shot John with regard to her giving you the furniture that she gave you because she didn't want to look at it anymore because it had an emotional attachment to Mr. Schwartz. So it's going to cost you. It's not going to cost you in this lawsuit the garage door, because I don't want to hear about that. If you damaged Mr. Schwartz's garage door, he'll take that up with you at some other time. Ms. Tracy, I am awarding you $3,000 to replace the furniture. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's an alcoholic. He's mentally and physically abusive. He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game. And it wasn't going anywhere. I have ambitions and goals, and we just don't meet. I am glad that I will never have to see him again.